Chapter 381. In the next half a month, Yi Chen had been training in the 9-star White Jade Tower. He had already used more than half of the hundreds of top-rank soulstones he had gotten from the black-robed elder, which had increased his cultivation to the next level. His Zhen Yuan was getting richer and richer. Do not underestimate the small gap between the peak-level late astral reaching realm and the late astral reaching realm. The amount of Zhen Yuan needed to accumulate would be shocking. No matter how talented you were, you would have to train honestly. Of course, it was not that there were no shortcuts, but they were too hard to find. For example, the rare spirit plants and the priceless top pellets could allow a late astral reaching realm warrior to reach the peak level instantly. Or, a Seas of Souls realm warrior could use his or her power to help you. No rush. With my battling power, I am almost invincible among the astral reaching realm warriors. I can take my time with my cultivation. Even if I reach the peak level late astral reaching realm, it would still be a long process for me to reach the Seas of Souls realm. It would take at least 3 to 5 years, and at most 8 to 10 years. It would all be possible. The challenge between the astral reaching realm and the Seas of Souls realm is called the Mortal Transcension Challenge. It is not without reason. The Mortal Transcension Challenge, as the name suggested, would allow the warrior to leave the mortal body and be able to do whatever he wanted. Therefore, the warriors who managed to reach the Seas of Souls realm would be called powerful warriors. The sky was getting brighter, and the oil lamp that was covered by a layer of glass was still shining with a dim light. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen pressed his finger in the air. Pooh! The glass did not shatter, and the light went out. After washing up a bit, Yi Chen opened the door and walked towards the lobby on the 7th floor. There were twice as many astral reaching realm warriors in the lobby compared to half a month ago. Part of the reason was because Yi Chen was living here, and a lot of astral reaching realm warriors wanted to make friends with him. Another reason was that the new Hidden Dragon rank competition had just ended, and the people who had gone to the Hidden Dragon ancient city to watch the competition had all returned. Although this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition was not as good as the last one, there were still a lot of top martial geniuses. The first place was a disciple from the Floating Mountain Martial School, the descendant of the Stone King, Jiyu Yuyun. The second place was Qian Yun from the Sunset Martial School. As for the martial school that Yi Chen was in, it had a lot of top martial geniuses. There were 3 people who made it into the top 72, and the most talented one among them was Zhong Haoran. I heard that he was a martial genius from the same generation as Yi Chen, but Yi Chen had caught up to him. Besides that, there were also a lot of core disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School who almost made it into the top 72, which made all the leaders of the other martial schools have their eyes wide open. With a genius leader like Yi Chen in the Sky Cloud Martial School, it would be hard for the disciples to not remember him. Yi Chen School was a top. Yi Star. Martial genius leader, Yi Martial of Yi. Of course it's true. These days, we often drink and chat together, and occasionally exchange martial arts experiences. Don't be fooled by his young age, his understanding is much deeper than mine. Many things have been enlightened by his advice. In the past, our strength was equal, but now it might not necessarily be as good as mine. Hihi, who doesn't know how to brag? If there's a chance, let's exchange some pointers. Of course. While everyone was talking, Yi Chen arrived at the lobby. Young Hero Yi is here. Young Hero Yi, you're really here. It seems that I've come to the right place. The newly arrived astral reaching realm warriors all cupped their fists towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen had heard their conversation before, and had some understanding of the situation of the Sky Cloud Martial School's disciples. Zhong Haoran's rise was expected. Back in the day, among the disciples of the same generation, only Zhong Haoran could compete with him. 5 to 6 years had passed, and he should be at the peak level late clasping Yuan realm, not far from the astral reaching realm. As for Xu Jing, who was not even 24 years old and did not participate in the competition, Yi Chen had a feeling that she had already reached the astral reaching realm. Xu Jing's path was different from most of the other martial artists. She mainly trained Qi power, which was the opposite of Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan was stored in the dantian, through the meridians of the whole body, while Qi power was stored in the blood, flesh, and bone marrow. Every part of the human body was a chi power path. There was no limit to it. Training chi power was the super version of body training. When normal people trained their bodies, they would be able to strengthen their bodies, which would allow them to have hundreds or even thousands of pounds of power. However, it would not turn into chi power. The early stage of body training was similar to body training. It would also strengthen the body and increase the power. In the later stages, one would be able to squeeze out physical power from the body, which would be chi power. Chi power did not have as many uses as Jin Yuan, but in terms of aggressiveness, it was way more powerful than Jin Yuan. It was truly unbreakable. When fighting against the warriors who trained chi power, one should never get too close to them. Otherwise, one would die a horrible death. The defense that one was so proud of would be as fragile as a piece of tofu in front of them. There was another big difference between training chi power and body training, which was that it could not be seen from the outside. For example, Xu Jing's chi power was definitely one of the best in the whole South Rudra region. However, she still looked like a young girl with a beautiful body. Her arms were very slim, but these slim arms could easily kill a demonic beast at the same level. Of course, it would still be easy to tell if a warrior who trained chi power met another warrior who trained chi power. For the warriors who trained chi power, because their chi power was too powerful, their essence chi would be like smoke, and their blood chi would be rolling. Therefore, the chi power of the warriors who trained chi power would definitely be able to sense each other. Although Yi Chen's chi power was not as powerful as Xu Jing's, he was still a little bit better. Plus, his soul power was the only one at the astral reaching realm, so he was very sensitive to everything. Meeting with Xu Jing again, he should be able to tell her current power. While drinking with the crowd, Yi Chen asked about what had happened in the hidden dragon rank that was worth paying attention to. There seems to be one. The prince of the Black Dragon Empire, who was ranked third in the hidden dragon rank competition, had come to watch this year's hidden dragon rank competition. The prince of the Black Dragon Empire, Yi Chen nodded. He knew this man. Xikong Sheng had participated in 3 hidden dragon rank competitions, and he was ranked first in the second one. The second one was Yang Qihua, and the third one was the prince of the Black Dragon Empire. He was already 23 years old back then, and after 6 years, he should be 29 years old now, which was a lot older than the current young generation. No one had expected that after hiding for 6 years, the prince of the Black Dragon Empire would come out with a peak-level late astral reaching realm cultivation. It had shocked everyone. Yeah, even I was shocked at that time. Yi Chen did not care too much about it, and asked, what did the prince of the Black Dragon Empire do there? Recruiting talents. I heard that he had already recruited a bunch of people, including a couple of top-ranked martial geniuses. This year's champion Jiu Yuyun and Qian Yun had both been recruited by him. Zhong Haoren from Yi Warriors Martial School was also one of them. I wonder if he had accepted. Recruiting talents. This prince is really calculating. Yi Chen knew that those who were able to make it into the top 72 of the hidden dragon rank were all people with great luck. Recruiting them into the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire would be able to gather a lot of luck for the royal family. Even if it did not work out, when these martial geniuses grew up, they would be able to become the guardians of the Black Dragon Empire. Of course, in the South Rudra region, only the royal families of the top 3 countries would dare to do this, since the 3 royal families were even more powerful than the rank 6 martial institutions. Soon, it was already the afternoon. On the street, a group of 6 people walked slowly. Prince, we are here. Among the 6 people, 5 of them were elders, all wearing black long robes with golden threads. One of them had a golden flower embroidered on his chest. The elder with the flower said to the tall young man who was half a step in front of him. The young man was more than 190 centimeters tall. He was quite handsome, and there was a black dragon embroidered on his black robe. The eyes of the black dragon were golden, which added a bit of aura to the young man. He said lightly, as expected, Yi Chen should be in the 9-star White Jade restaurant. I wonder if he will accept my invitation. If he does not know how to appreciate favors, then teach him a lesson. The one who spoke was a muscular elder with a face full of evil. The leading elder in black rubbed his chin. Don't underestimate him. He was able to escape from 4 extreme astral-reaching realm warriors, so his power is definitely not normal. Of course, there is no need to be afraid. Yang Beidao, wait for the prince to speak. Don't be reckless, in case you ruin the prince's plan. Yang Beidao's power was second only to him. His blade arts were shocking, but unfortunately, he was too evil and could easily kill people. Don't worry, I know what to do. Arriving at the entrance of the 9-star White Jade restaurant, the waiter who welcomed the guests was shocked when he saw the 6 people's clothes. He immediately recognized them and bowed before leading them inside. Then, the manager of the White Jade restaurant personally welcomed them, his face full of smiles. Is Yi Chen staying in the 9-star White Jade restaurant? The leading elder in black asked. The manager hesitated a bit, then nodded. Young warrior Yi has been staying in the 9-star White Jade restaurant for half a month. It is on the 7th floor. All right, you go do what you need to do. We will go up by ourselves. On the 7th floor, Yi Chen and the others were drinking. Seeing the prince and the other 5 walk up, his brows slightly creased. He felt that they had come for him. Although the prince had never seen Yi Chen before, he had seen Yi Chen's portrait. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Brother Yi is so free and unfettered. I heard that you made it out of the bewilderment fog forbidden zone. I didn't dare to believe it before, but now I do. Yi Chen said, I was lucky. Why is the prince here? Just now, someone had already told him the prince's identity. The prince waved his hand, signaling the others to make way. He sat in front of Yi Chen and went straight to the point. This time, I have come for no other reason than to hope that Brother Yi can become my personal guard. I can give you the position of personal guard captain. Moreover, I will also help you resolve the grudge between you and the Floating Mountain School. What do you think? After saying these words, the prince's gaze became clear as he looked straight at Yi Chen. Yi Chen's brows twitched. Among the 6, there were 3 extreme astral-reaching experts. One of them was the black-robed old man, another was a robust old man, and the last one was actually the prince of the Black Dragon Empire. However, with his talent and comprehensive ability, becoming an extreme astral-reaching expert at the age of 28 or 29 was not out of the question. It was common knowledge that between 25 and 35 was the peak period of a human's body. This was the period where one's progress was the fastest. Xianhu had entered the Sea of Souls realm at the age of 25, and the Life and Death realm at the age of 35. Therefore, the prince's strength did not surprise Yi Chen too much. He was a famous genius of this generation, and his strength would not be inferior to the prince at the age of 28 or 29. Moreover, with a genius leader like Yi Chen, the pressure on the later geniuses would be even greater. It was very likely that they would reach this realm earlier, or even surpass it, leading the South Rudra region to the peak. Sorry, I can't agree. Yi Chen's expression was indifferent as he drank a mouthful of wine. The prince faintly smiled, his gaze faintly carrying an oppressive feeling as he smiled. Brother Yi, why don't you reconsider? Becoming my personal guard will only bring you benefits. There are no disadvantages. You're wrong. Becoming your personal guard is the biggest disadvantage. Yi Chen did not feel any restraint or pressure as he casually said. Impudent. I've given you some color, and you want to open a dye shop. If you don't agree, then ask my blade. Yang Beidao could not help but reprimand him. He was not afraid of the prince's displeasure. In fact, this time, inviting Yi Chen to become the prince's personal guard was only one of his goals. If the latter did not agree, then he would move on to the second goal. Therefore, the prince was overbearing from the start. If Yi Chen agreed, then it would be best. Otherwise, his trip would not be in vain. Chapter 382. The Crown Prince didn't stop Yang Beidao. Admittedly, he had come this time with the intention of inviting Yi Chen to become his personal guard. However, he knew that Yi Chen wasn't a sword artist willing to be under someone else's command. Therefore, he had long since prepared himself for rejection. Moreover, Yang Beidao was the #1 astral-reaching blade artist of the Black Dragon Empire's royal family. His ruthless aura was extremely frightening. With him provoking Yi Chen, he should be able to see something. Of course, if Yi Chen were to lose at his hands, That would be even better. Since he couldn't obtain a genius, he might as well destroy him in advance. Yi Chen glared at him. Who the hell are you? Hearing these words, the astral reaching experts on the 7th floor opened their mouths wide. As the saying goes, one must look at the owner before beating a dog. Yi Chen's first words almost made them spurt out the wine they had just drunk. As for the crown prince, his complexion suddenly turned gloomy. The wine cup in his hand exploded with a bang, and the wine and fragments evaporated into a light blue mist. I'll skin you alive. Yang Beidao's face was flushed with blood, and his breathing accelerated. Everyone could clearly see the blue veins on his thick neck bulging like cyan earthworms. With a raw, ruthless aura erupted, filling the berserk blade aura. Yang Beidao chopped at Yi Chen with a palm blade. The energy of this palm was restrained, and it was extremely fast and berserk. With a wave of his hand, the edge of the palm was like a bold and decisive blade, cleaving the void and heading straight for Yi Chen's face. He was fast, but Yi Chen was even faster. A green lotus blossomed, and Yi Chen's sword finger pointed at the edge of Yang Beidao's palm. Ka lolo. The hard floorboards under his feet were plowed through. Yang Beidao's feet rubbed against the ground as he flew upward like a meteor. He smashed a huge hole in the wall of the 9-star White Jade Tower's 7th floor and flew backward for 3 to 4 miles. Along the way, everything he encountered exploded. After 3 to 4 li, Yang Beidao staggered in the air, spurting out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, Yi Chen's face wasn't red, and he wasn't out of breath. The chair beneath him also didn't shatter. Is this the strength of the genius leader of South Rudra region? How terrifying. With a single finger, he sent the other party flying 3 to 4 miles away without the slightest bit of resistance. Although everyone had heard that Yi Chen had suppressed the White Bone Ghost General, one of the 3 strongest ghost generals of the 9 Ghost Cult, causing him to die a miserable death in the mouth of the blood evil beast, and had exchanged a few moves with Shuntu Ju without falling into a disadvantageous position, and then escaped from the hands of 4 extreme astral reaching experts with great difficulty, they had never seen it with their own eyes. They thought that it was an exaggeration, and that there was some hidden story behind it. At this moment, no one thought this way anymore. Yi Chen's strength was even more powerful than they had imagined. This Yang Beidao was, after all, an expert under the Crown Prince, yet he couldn't even take one move. The eldest Imperial Prince's expression was exceptionally grave. The others might not know, but how could he not know? Yang Beidao was an extreme astral reaching expert. Even if he couldn't compare to the head of the 7 blade artists, the white-robed blade artist, he wasn't too far off. Coupled with that crazy evil chi, even those with a higher strength might not necessarily be able to suppress him. His strength is above that of the white-robed bladesman, comparable to Pei Yudao. Thinking of this, the eldest Imperial Prince sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to Yang Beidao, who was several li away. Beidao, take out your weapon and go all out. Help me probe his bottom line. I must kill him. Without the eldest Imperial Prince's words, a radiance flickered in Yang Beidao's hand, and a 1.5 meter long blade with an extremely thick back appeared out of thin air. With the blade in hand, Yang Beidao's blade aura rose again and again, distorting and rupturing the void. Sent flying by Yi Chen's finger, Yang Beidao lost all his face. He had used 70% of his strength at most in that palm strike. Wishful thinking, he believed that Yi Chen had used 90% or even 100% of his strength. At this moment, he held a peak mid-grade blade in his hand, and his battle power could be displayed to its peak. His eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at Yi Chen with his left hand and roared, "Despicable villain, come out and fight. Why bother? I can deal with you right here." Yi Chen sneered. His fingers, as if playing a peeper, shot out one sharp Zhen Yuan after another. The Zhen Yuan took form and gave birth to many long swords, piercing through the void. Dang 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 dang, Yang Beidao brandished his blade and slashed out. His extremely fast brandishing speed caused his entire body to be wrapped in blade light. However, Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan longswords were not ordinary Zhen Yuan longswords, but Zhen Yuan longswords that contained a frightening sword intent. Every strike was equivalent to an extreme astral reaching expert's full power attack. Dozens of attacks simultaneously landed on Yang Beidao's protective blade light, and their destructive power was astonishing. With continuous cracking sounds, Yang Beidao's perlicue bled, and his entire body was sent flying once again. At the same time, several Zhen Yuan longswords instantly brushed past his body, leaving behind scars. What? The eldest imperial prince's pupils shrank, and he couldn't help but stand up. Too powerful. Sitting there casually from 3 to 4 li away, he beat the eldest imperial prince's right-hand man to the point of vomiting blood and retreating. Everyone was astonished. Yi Chen retracted his palm and said to the Black Dragon Empire's eldest imperial prince, "Eldest imperial prince, what other powerful subordinates do you have? Come at me together. I have nothing better to do." After saying these words, his gaze shot a glance at the black-robed old man standing behind the eldest imperial prince. There was a golden flower tattooed on his chest. Gulp. It was merely a glance, but the black-robed old man felt as if an incomparably sharp and peerless sword was stabbing at him. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Eldest imperial prince, this person is more troublesome than I imagined. This old man is not his opponent. His lips slightly moved as he sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to the eldest imperial prince. The eldest imperial prince restrained his astonished expression and replied, "I know. He's at least an expert at the level of Heartless Sect's great elder Pei Yudao." Pei Yudao's reputation in South Rudra region was even higher than Shen Tujue's. After all, before Shen Tujue condensed his martial soul embryo, Pei Yudao had always held the position of the #1 astral reaching expert. Moreover, there was no comparison. Who knew if Shen Tujue could defeat Pei Yudao? Pei Yudao's level. The black-robed old man sucked in a breath of cold air. Pei Yudao himself was a sword artist, and also an extreme astral reaching expert. In terms of offensive power and sword intent, he couldn't be compared to anyone else. At his level, he was basically invincible among astral reaching experts in South Rudra region. Haha. The eldest imperial prince suddenly laughed heartily. While clapping, he said, "Good strength. You've broadened this prince's horizons. This prince has come this time not only to get to know Brother Yi, but also to exchange pointers with Brother Yi. How about this, you and I exchange one move, so as to avoid harming our relationship? What do you think?" The eldest imperial prince was quite apprehensive of Yi Chen. He was afraid that if the battle dragged on, he would lose face. If it was only one move, he was confident that he could receive it. After all, he was riding a tiger and couldn't back down. He had no choice but to find a way out of this embarrassing situation. "I'll do as you say." How could Yi Chen not see through the eldest imperial prince's thoughts? "This place is too narrow. You and I will exchange outside the city." The eldest imperial prince turned around and went down. 10 li north of Skystar City, Star Regional Lake, Yi Chen and the eldest imperial prince stood 100 meters apart. The lake breeze blew on their clothes, causing them to flutter. In their surroundings, the spectators numbered in the tens of thousands. Almost all the astral reaching experts of Skystar City had come. Of course, there were even more clasping yuan and condensing reality martial artists. Yi Chen said indifferently, "Make your move." The eldest imperial prince didn't say anything. The palm hidden in his sleeves tightly clenched into a fist. Black smoke curled up, faintly carrying thunder and flames. The black chi became more and more vigorous, eventually wrapping the eldest imperial prince within and soaring into the sky. The air within a radius of several hundred meters instantly distorted, and the scene became indistinct. Catcher. The sky turned dark at an unknown time, and a purple lightning struck down. At the same time, the eldest imperial prince made his move. His figure shot out like lightning, tearing through the void. His right fist, shrouded in black chi, suddenly punched out. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist. A huge black dragon condensed from Zhen Yuan rapidly formed. The dragon's body was 300 meters long, and its head was as big as a house. Its eyes opened, emitting a golden light. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it swooped down at Yi Chen. Wherever it went, the ground collapsed and cracked, and the lake water on one side raised huge waves. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. It's the Black Dragon Empire's royal martial art, Black Dragon Tyrant Fist. Someone recognized the eldest imperial prince's fist art. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist is said to be a fist art that is even higher than the top-rank Earth realm. With one punch, the sky and earth will change color, and the flood will flood. That black dragon condensed from Zhen Yuan also has a mental attack. Higher than the top-rank Earth realm fist art? Isn't that a Heaven realm fist art? Right, Heaven realm fist arts are also known as profound sense fist arts. The black dragon covered the sky and enveloped over. Its sharp claws and teeth tore through the air, creating one vacuum crack after another. It was as if it was tearing apart a huge piece of cloth. Its aura was astonishing, shaking the soul. Yet another profound sense martial skill. How could Yi Chen not know about the grade of Black Dragon Tyrant Fist? It was the same as Feng Yanrou's Ice Snow Sword domain, both of which were Heaven realm martial skills, which were also profound sense martial skills. Only Sea of Soul realm experts could create profound sense martial skills, because they already touched upon the existence of profound sense. The higher the profound sense, the more powerful the martial skill would be. Normally, Sea of Soul realm experts or masters could create low-rank profound sense martial skills at most. Mid-rank profound sense martial skills were beyond the power of Sea of Soul realm masters, and only Life and Death Kings could do it. As for the high-rank profound sense martial skills, only titled monarchs could create them. Whether Xianhu had done it or not, it was still unknown. Above the high-rank profound sense martial skills were the peak profound sense martial skills. Those who could create peak profound sense martial skills were already comparable to the ancient era's peak kings. The Crown Prince's Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was at most a superficial level, not even 1/10 of its full power. From this, it could be deduced that it should be a low-rank profound sense martial skill. Humph. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was created by the old ancestor. Once I use this move, even those stronger than me will be temporarily suppressed. I'll let you make a fool of yourself. The Crown Prince was full of confidence. Within this one move, he was not afraid of anyone at the astral reaching realm. This was the big gift he had prepared for Yi Chen. Roar. The black dragon opened its huge mouth, and an incorporeal ripple radiated out. It was a spirit attack. Yi Chen wasn't afraid at all. The space between his brows swelled up like a diamond bead, and a shapeless and immaterial sword intent swiftly shot out, instantly extinguishing the mental attack without the slightest effort. Clang. Unsheathing the destruction sword, Yi Chen stabbed 3 times toward the black dragon. These 3 sword strikes were unimaginably fast. The first sword pierced through the black dragon's head, the second through its neck, and the third through its body. After stabbing 3 times, Yi Chen sheathed his sword and calmly stood there. Chapter 383. Crash. The Zhen Yuan black dragon seemed to have materialized flesh and blood. Its body was torn apart, and irregular chunks of flesh scattered down from the sky. It was an extremely spectacular sight, causing the souls of the spectating martial artists to tremble. Before the Zhen Yuan chunks of flesh reached the ground, they dissipated at different speeds. A Yuan Qi hurricane swept up where they were, blowing towards the sky. Impossible. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was broken? Sparks flew from the gloves. Unable to bear the recoil of power, the Crown Prince was sent flying back at an even faster speed, his face full of disbelief. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was a low-grade profound sense fist art, a pure killing fist art. In terms of might, even ordinary low-grade profound sense martial skills were inferior to it. Although he had only comprehended a bit of it, not even 1/10 of its peak, at the level of astral reaching realm, 1/10 of a low-grade profound sense fist art's might was already quite amazing. Originally, the Crown Prince was brimming with confidence. He believed that at the level of astral reaching realm, be it Shen Tujue or Pei Yudao, they would be suppressed by his Black Dragon Tyrant Fist within one move. In other words, he would be able to gain the upper hand within one move. As for after one move, he would have no other choice. He had set a one-move agreement with Yi Chen in order to suppress Yi Chen's prestige and establish his own. How could he have imagined that the Black Dragon Tyrant Fist, which had always been successful, would only be able to withstand 3 sword strikes from Yi Chen? These 3 sword strikes seemed to have cut into the blind spots of the Black Dragon Tyrant Fist, forcibly dismembering the Zhenyuan black dragon, creating such a soul-shaking scene. Sheathing his sword, Yi Chen indifferently looked at the crown prince. Thanks for letting me win. Brother Yi's sword arts are indeed incomparably sharp. Seems like I won't be able to gain the upper hand within one move. The crown prince revealed a forced smile, feeling extremely sullen inwardly. With so many spectators, he was afraid that in less than 10 days, the entire Black Dragon Empire would know that he was inferior to Yi Chen. At this moment, the only thing he could do was play a word game, telling the world that he wouldn't be able to defeat Yi Chen in one move. However, after one move, the outcome might be different. Yi Chen said with a smile that was yet not a smile, likewise. Crown Prince's words are similarly incomparably sharp, not beneath my sword arts. The Crown Prince's chest heaved up and down. Well done, Yi Chen, you actually didn't give me a way out. I gave you face, but you made me lose face. Let's see how long you can be arrogant for. The floating mountain sect won't sit by and watch you grow. The remaining members of the Nine Ghost cult will definitely try to assassinate you. The eldest prince's eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled and said, You're flattering me. Brother Yi's courage is truly shocking. You treat the hanging mountain like it's nothing. I'm ashamed of my inferiority. Yi Chen replied, The first imperial prince is openly trying to rope in the disciples of the various sects. Such methods and boldness far surpass Yi Chen's. How would Yi Chen dare to show off in front of the first imperial prince? Yi Chen's words were like his sword techniques, always hitting the nail on the head. Since the eldest imperial prince wanted to drag him down with him, he naturally would not be polite. After the two geniuses finished exchanging blows, they started bickering, which left the surrounding spectators dumbstruck. However, it seemed like Yi Chen was gaining the upper hand, and the crown prince was gradually losing the upper hand. Alright, I still have things to do. Brother Yi, you take care of yourself. We will meet again in the future. I hope that at that time, Brother Yi will still be as lively as you are today. With his status as the eldest imperial prince, if he continued, he would become a laughingstock. He could not afford to lose face, and neither could the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire. Let's go. The group of 6 came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Yi Chen sneered. This eldest imperial prince was nothing to worry about. Xikong Sheng, Yang Qihua, and Lin Yun were all much stronger than him. At least, the 3 of them did not know how to play word games. If they lost, they lost. They were just a bit more stubborn. As the eldest imperial prince of the Black Dragon Empire, he did not have any dignity at all. As soon as the eldest imperial prince left, everyone's gaze gathered on Yi Chen. Among all the southern regions of the True Spirit continent, our South Rudra region is the weakest with the least amount of geniuses. But, from today onwards, it will be different. Yi Chen can completely compete with the top geniuses of other regions. Genius leader, fully deserving of the title. However, Yi Chen's situation is worrying. Not only did he offend the floating mountain sect and the remnants of the 9 evil cult, he even offended the eldest imperial prince of the Black Dragon Empire. It's hard to say for now. Without this boldness, perhaps Yi Chen would not be Yi Chen, and he would not have the achievements he has today. This battle had established Yi Chen's unshakable position as a genius leader. Returning to the 9-star White Jade restaurant, Yi Chen went into closed-door training and declined all guests. Feng Yenro's Ice Snow Sword Domain and the eldest Imperial Prince's Black Dragon Tyrant Fist were both low-grade profound sense martial skills, which brought a trace of threat to Yi Chen. It was not that the two could threaten Yi Chen. Without exaggerating, the current Yi Chen could kill them with 30 to 40% of his strength, and he could suppress an astral reaching paragon with 50% of his strength. In other words, 50% of Yi Chen's strength was enough for him to look down on everyone and rule the astral reaching realm. The reason why he felt threatened was because the low-grade profound sense martial skills made Yi Chen feel that he was lacking. Limited by profound sense, astral reaching experts were unable to grasp profound sense martial skills. For example, Feng Yenro and the eldest Imperial Prince had stopped at less than 10%. However, who knew if there would be someone who could grasp 10%, or even 20%? Who knew if a freak like Yi Chen would appear, cultivating a top-rank Earth-grade martial skill to the peak of the 13th layer and condensing a sword soul embryo or a martial soul embryo. Perhaps there would even be someone at the astral reaching realm who could directly condense a sword soul or martial soul. These were all uncertain. Perhaps not. Yi Chen couldn't hope that others didn't have this kind of talent and opportunity. True Spirit Continent was so big, and it was quite possible for such freaks to appear. Therefore, what Yi Chen could do was to constantly strengthen himself and never be satisfied. Profound sense martial skills. Yi Chen also had them, but he couldn't use them. The void-shattering finger he obtained on the Sheephead Mountain was undoubtedly a profound sense finger art. However, the void-shattering finger's profoundness was different from ordinary profoundness. It involved space. Up until now, Yi Chen still didn't know what the space attribute was or how to comprehend it. Rather than spending time on the void-shattering finger, he might as well comprehend the strongest 9th style of Green Lotus sword arts. Indeed, it was precisely the 9th style of Green Lotus sword arts. According to Battle King's rich knowledge, Yi Chen was clear that the last style of a top-rank Earth realm martial skill was extraordinary. Although it couldn't compare to a low-rank profound sense martial skill, it was still a lot more powerful than a tenth of a low-rank profound sense martial skill. Those Sea of Soul realm experts who could create low-rank profound sense martial skills had already cultivated 1 or 2 top-rank Earth realm martial skills to perfection. Without perfection, one couldn't even talk about creating a profound sense martial skill. Generally speaking, astral reaching experts couldn't cultivate top-rank Earth realm martial skills to perfection. However, Yi Chen was an exception. His soul was several times more powerful than other martial artists at the same level, and his comprehensive ability was extremely high. Moreover, top-rank Earth realm martial skills were still within the realm of mentalities, not as mysterious as profound sense. As long as one could cultivate the 9th style of Green Lotus sword arts, the possibility of falling into a disadvantage in the astral reaching realm in terms of moves was almost negligible, unless the opponent had comprehended the profound in advance and could push the profound sense martial skill to a higher realm. Of course, he had to comprehend the 9th style of Green Lotus sword arts, as well as the 14th layer of Green Lotus sword arts. Under the same rank, the difficulty of improving a cultivation technique was more than double that of a martial skill. Many Sea of Soul realm experts had yet to cultivate a top-rank Earth realm martial skill to perfection. With the accumulation of the first 8 styles of Green Lotus sword arts, it's not impossible to attack the 9th style. Once I succeed in the 9th style, my mentalities will transform into profound sense. Straightening out his thoughts, Yi Chen searched for the best place to comprehend the sword arts. On the floating mountain peak, there was only one main hall. In the main hall, Floating Mountain's sect leader, a majestic middle-aged man, was sitting in the main seat. Below him were 3 people. One was Floating Mountain's core great elder, Shen Tujue. The 2 old men beside him had never been seen before. Their appearances were extremely old. According to an ordinary person's estimation, they were at least 90 years old. If converted to an astral reaching expert's age, they would be more than 180 years old, close to the end of their lifespan. The majestic middle-aged man was Sikong Sheng's grandfather, Sikong Ba, also a descendant of the Kang King. Shen Tujue, with your strength alone, even if you can suppress Yi Chen, it will be difficult for you to smoothly kill him. This time, I've sent Elder Li and Elder Fu to assist you. Their strength is comparable to yours. With the 3 of them joining hands, killing Yi Chen will be as easy as blowing off dust. Sikong Ba said indifferently. Shen Tujue glanced at Elder Li and Elder Fu, then cupped his hands and said, with the assistance of 2 elders who have been cultivating for a long time, we can naturally kill Yi Chen. However, before that, please allow me to act alone. If I can't smoothly kill him, then we'll join hands. He had his own plans. If he killed Yi Chen with the strength of 3 people before the fight even started, wouldn't it mean that he was inferior to Yi Chen? This was not his original intention. Elder Li smiled. Elder Shen Tujue is still so domineering. Sect leader, I also feel that Elder Shen Tujue can deal with him alone. We'll just watch from the side. He and Elder Fu had been cultivating for a long time without any contact with the outside world. Through the accumulation of time and the support of the sect's resources, their strength was extremely frightening. They were both existences not inferior to Shen Tujue. If Shen Tujue couldn't deal with Yi Chen, it meant that they couldn't deal with him either. Therefore, they didn't believe that Yi Chen could be so powerful. Sikong Ba nodded. This time, only success is allowed. Failure is not allowed. Yes. Shen Tujue nodded. With a wave of his robe, Sikong Ba threw out 4 streams of light. 2 of the 4 streams of light flew towards Shen Tujue, while the other 2 fell towards Elder Li and Elder Fu. The 3 of them reached out to receive the streams of light. When they felt the fluctuations coming from the streams of light, they were shocked. They were actually high-grade artifacts, a total of 4 high-grade artifacts. Elder Li's high-grade artifact was a saber. The saber light swirled and sliced through the void. Elder Fu's high-grade artifact was a long spear, with a large snake coiled around it. As for Shen Tujue, he had 2 high-grade artifacts. One was a greenish-black glove, while the other was a dark green armor. One for offense and one for defense. Sect leader. Shen Tujue raised his head. Sikong Ba said indifferently, I said, only success is allowed. Failure is not allowed. These 4 high-grade artifacts were borrowed from the other Supreme Elders. After using them, you still have to return them. Shen Tujue understands. Feeling the fluctuations of the high-grade artifacts, Shen Tujue was overjoyed. With 2 high-grade artifacts, he was an absolutely invincible existence in the astral-reaching realm. His offense was frighteningly powerful, and his defense was similarly frighteningly powerful. He was already in an invincible position. It seemed like the sect leader's desire to kill Yi Chen was quite intense. But it was no wonder. Yi Chen's action of killing Daoist Jin Huang was already a great disrespect to Floating Mountain. How could he be allowed to live? You guys set off. Sikong Ba waved his hand. Chapter 384. After pondering for a while, Sikong Ba's figure suddenly flickered. The air distorted, no, the space rapidly warped. As if teleporting, he left the main palace and arrived at a dark green mountain behind the floating mountain. Sect leader, why have you come? A voice came from the layers upon layers of buildings. Sikong Ba's lips slightly moved. I reckon you'll have to take action this time. After saying these words, he directly shot into the main palace. The main palace was spacious, without a single person. Soon, a grey-haired old man walked in and faintly nodded towards Sikong Ba, expressing his respect. The grey-haired old man said, still for that matter. Sikong Ba faintly nodded, indeed. According to Elder Jin Huang's description, the expert behind Yi Chen should be a Sea of Soul Realm expert, but not a master. This time, I sent Elder Li and Elder Fu to assist Elder Shen too. I'm 90% sure. However, in order to prevent that expert from interfering, you're the most suitable. Daoist Jin Huang wasn't clear about the strength of the hand's owner, but how could Sikong Ba not? After listening to Daoist Jin Huang's description, he confirmed that this person was a Sea of Soul Realm expert, and not a Life and Death King. In fact, Life and Death Kings rarely took action for a genius, unless this genius had already reached the Sea of Soul Realm. Therefore, Sikong Ba didn't have any misgivings in sending people to kill Yi Chen. Of course, he couldn't go too far and deliberately send a Sea of Soul Realm expert to deal with an astral reaching expert. Not to mention whether he was insane or not, even if he wasn't, he would still anger that Sea of Soul Realm expert. Right now, Elder Shen Tujue and Elder Fu were both astral reaching experts. He believed that if they killed Yi Chen, the other party would have nothing to say. However, just in case, Sikong Ba still felt that he should send a Supreme Elder, lest the other party save Yi Chen again. In that case, I'll go out for a walk. The grey-haired old man was clear why Sikong Ba didn't call anyone else, but him. In the entire floating mountain, apart from Sikong Ba, he was the strongest. Sikong Ba himself naturally couldn't act, since there were too many taboos. However, if he acted, there wouldn't be so many taboos. I hope he doesn't interfere. I've already mastered the wave split, and I'm lacking an opponent to test its power on. The grey-haired old man sneered and walked out of the main hall, disappearing without a trace. Seekong Ba similarly sneered. The grey-haired old man's seniority was several generations higher than his, and his cultivation base was at mid-sea of Soul Realm. Although he was a bit weaker than him, he was an existence that couldn't be ignored among ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts. With him watching from the side, the expert behind Yi Chen would be helpless. A little martial genius attracting 2 Sea of Soul's Realm warriors. Yi Chen, you should be proud. Windy Nation. South Rudra Martial School. The 1,000-foot waterfall poured down in torrents, emitting a loud rumbling sound. A dignified woman in her 30s walked out of the bamboo house. After not seeing him for 3 years, he has actually improved so much. In the end, I still underestimated him. He is a genius worth nurturing. On the grass outside the bamboo house, the black-robed spy said, "Leader, the Floating Mountain Martial School has already sent 3 experts to deal with Yi Chen. I'm afraid Yi Chen's situation is not optimistic." Long Bai shook her head. "Astral reaching experts will have to deal with him by himself. I can't help him. But there's no harm in going. Perhaps something unexpected will happen." As soon as she finished speaking, the space in front of Long Bai suddenly distorted, rippling like water in a pond being blown by a gale. When the black-robed spy raised his head, Long Bai was nowhere to be seen. 10 days later, Skystar City, 9-star White Jade Tower. Where did Yi Chen go? As soon as he arrived, Shen Tujue controlled all the astral reaching experts on the 7th floor. Anyone who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Under the pressure of the 3, someone pointed to the north. Star Regional Lake. Elder Li creased his brows. Shen Tujue's sinister gaze swept across the crowd. "I hope you're telling the truth. Otherwise, there will be no place for you in the South Rudra region." Humph. Flicking his sleeves and leaving, the 3 flew towards the Star Regional Lake 10 li away. 7th floor lobby. Nobody said anything, but their complexions were ashen. The Floating Mountain Martial School was too overbearing. For better or worse, they were famous astral reaching experts, yet they were being threatened like this. If not for Floating Mountain Martial School's reputation being too great and its influence being too powerful, they would have long since smashed the gates of any other 7th-grade sect. Above the boundless lake, 3 figures were flying at extreme speed. Star Regional Lake is so big. Wanting to find a person won't be that easy. We might have to spend some effort. Elder Li said. Shen Tujue nodded. He turned his head to look at the silent Elder Fu and said, "Elder Fu, your heavenly vision and earthly hearing technique can sense any activity within a radius of 800 miles. When the time comes, I'll need your help." Elder Fu said, "No problem." The heavenly sight and earthly hearing great art was an auxiliary art passed down from ancient times. It didn't have much use in battle, but it was extremely powerful when searching for people or objects. Circulating the art with all its might, one could sense movements within 800 li. It was several times more powerful than spirit power radiation. It should be known that an astral reaching expert's spirit power could only cover a dozen li, and even some relatively powerful ones wouldn't exceed 20 li. Within 20 li, nothing could be hidden. Beyond 20 li, one could only sense ripples, but beyond 50 li, not even ripples could be sensed, unless the other party deliberately created a powerful disturbance. Another week passed by, and the 3's mental appearance was somewhat exhausted. In particular, the wrinkles on Elder Fu's face seemed to have increased a bit. He said in a low voice, "Although my heavenly sight and earthly hearing great art is useful, I've used it too frequently. My spirit has already suffered some damage. If I can't find his shadow within 3 days, I'll have to return and recuperate. Otherwise, I'll lose even the last shred of hope of stepping into the Sea of Soul Realm." Elder Li and Shen Tujue nodded in understanding. Shen Tujue coldly snorted, "When I find that kid, I'll let him know what it means to wish for death." On an uninhabited island in the Star Regional Lake, Catcher, a barren mountain split open, sword chi overflowing in all directions. Surging sword intent pervaded the air, not dissipating for a long time. The 9th style of Green Lotus sword art has nothing to do with mentality. I've long since reached the limit of wood mentality, and my water mentality is also nearing the limit. It's impossible for me to have no progress at all. It should be due to the utilization of the mentality. In a situation where the mentality is the same, the one with a higher utilization of the mentality will naturally have the upper hand. Mentality was only a core, and the crux was utilization. Those who didn't know how to utilize it would undoubtedly be at a disadvantage in battle. For example, the black-robed old man's thunder mentality contained explosive power. This was a kind of utilization, but the utilization of the 9th style of Green Lotus sword art was even more obscure. Let's try again. Grasping the greenwood sword with both hands, Yi Chen calmed his heart and became as tranquil as an ancient well. Shortly after, he suddenly opened his eyes and slashed the void, striking at a barren mountain not far away. Catcher! The barren mountain split into two halves, and the upper half slid down in a slanted manner before crashing down with a loud rumble. Yeah, it's starting to have some flavor. Yi Chen revealed a faint smile. Suddenly, his smile froze, and his forehead faintly twitched. His soul power radiated out, harmonizing with the void. Someone is using mental power to scan this place. Such a thin mental power, but it has increased the range by more than 10 times. Yi Chen's soul power was higher than mental power, so he instantly discerned the profoundness of this mental power. 500 li away, a rare smile appeared on Elder Fu's face as he nodded, found it. It's on an uninhabited island 500 li west. Haha, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Shen Tujue was overjoyed. The three usually traveled at 50 to 60% speed. But at this moment, they were going all out, instantly reaching 3 to 4 times the speed of sound. Just as the three left, a figure teleported over. Seems like I don't need to guide them anymore. The newcomer was precisely the floating mountain's supreme elder, the gray-haired old man. Originally, he planned to help the three when they were at their wits' end. After all, the mental power of Sea of Soul Realm experts had a wider range, and its utilization was also extremely ingenious. He could completely achieve the level of heaven's sight and earth's hearing. Noiselessly, the gray-haired old man leaped and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already far away, like a flickering feeble light. The floating mountain actually dispatched a supreme elder. Could it be that they're afraid of me saving Yi Chen? That should be the case. Even further away, a dignified woman in her 30s floated in the air. In front of her was a water curtain that connected to the void. On the water curtain, the gray-haired old man's figure flickered. If a Sea of Soul Realm expert were nearby, he or she would certainly be able to tell that the water curtain was propelled by profound. Most people only comprehended combat-type profound martial skills, and had very few supplementary profound martial skills. Within a limited time, comprehending battle power enhancing profound martial skills was undoubtedly the wisest choice. Only if one already had several combat-type profound martial skills would they have the leisure to comprehend other things. Of course, one could also choose not to comprehend them, since the profound martial skills left behind by predecessors were still quite profound. The water curtain dispersed, and the dignified woman disappeared. We're here. Elder Fu and the other two arrived at the uninhabited island. Yi Chen, get out here. Shen Tujue operated his Jin Yuan and roared. 3 extreme astral reaching experts. Floating mountain really thinks highly of me. Yi Chen appeared on a barren mountain with a long sword at his waist. Elder Li said in an awe-inspiring tone, you can also be considered a stunning genius. If you continue to grow, you'll most likely reach an even higher realm. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have provoked my floating mountain and killed our core elder, Daoist Jin Huang. Now that you're waiting for death, I'll leave your corpse intact. Otherwise, you'll be cut into pieces. In the three's eyes, Yi Chen was already a dead man. Not to mention the fact that the three of them were existences among extreme astral reaching experts, any one of them could contend against or even suppress Yi Chen. With the three of them joining hands, Yi Chen had absolutely no hope of survival. Moreover, the three of them had 4 upper-grade artifacts on them. Upper-grade offensive artifacts could amplify attack power by 70 to 80%, while upper-grade defensive artifacts could amplify defense by 70 to 80%. Such a powerful formation of astral reaching experts couldn't be found in the entire South Rudra region. Trash. Today, this uninhabited island will be your burial ground. Yi Chen's killing intent had already been aroused. Courting death. Shen Tujue roared. With a wave of his palm, a barren mountain uprooted and smashed towards Yi Chen. At the same time, his figure flickered, rapidly approaching. Crack. The flying barren mountain split open, and the sword Qi, like the first ray of sunlight in the morning, scattered across the horizon and heavily chopped at Shen Tujue's protective Jin Yuan. Shen Tujue simply didn't have enough time to react. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth as he was sent flying. Chapter 385. As the sword Qi rushed out, Yi Chen slashed out 10 times in a row, completely enveloping the three as he said, "I said you're nothing more than chickens and dogs. Come at me together, saving me the trouble of dealing with you one by one." At his current level, any astral reaching expert in South Rudra region was nothing more than a chicken or dog in front of Yi Chen, unable to withstand a single blow. Not to mention 3 extreme astral reaching experts, even 2 or 3 times more would be useless. Of course, under normal circumstances, Yi Chen might have played a few moves. However, against the people chasing him from Floating Mountain, there was no need to be lenient. So what if he was a bit domineering? Peng 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 peng, sword Qi shot out, crisscrossing. Including Elder Li and Elder Fu, the 3 didn't even have the opportunity to counterattack. Their protective Jin Yuan shattered one after another, and blood splattered everywhere. This was only because Yi Chen had some misgivings and didn't want to reveal his full battle power. After all, revealing such a frightening strength would inevitably lead to other incidents. It should be known that in South Rudra region's astral reaching realm, extreme experts were the peak, and those with upper-grade artifacts were astral reaching paragons. Instantly killing 3 of them would cause an unimaginable sensation. As for why he had some misgivings, it was because there weren't only the 4 of them in this area. There was someone else spying on them. In terms of soul strength, he wasn't inferior to a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Despite limiting his battle power, Yi Chen was still an existence that surpassed the astral reaching realm. In other words, he was the only one who was unrivaled. Impossible. I have an upper-grade artifact that amplifies my defense by 70 to 80%. It's twice as powerful as a mid-grade artifact. Why can't I block his sword Qi? Shen Tujue was about to go crazy. Among the 3, his defense was the strongest. However, facing Yi Chen's sword Qi, it still crumbled. Elder Li and Elder Fu were even more miserable. Their bodies were drenched in blood, as if they had been cut into pieces. It was a tragic sight to behold. Roar! Shen Tujue roared angrily. Wearing a dark blue glove, he struck out with his palm. Numerous barren mountains were uprooted from the ground, shattering in the air as they shot towards Yi Chen at an extreme speed. The rubble rubbed against the air, producing a shocking flame that looked like a meteor shower. Green Lotus splitting mountain, sweeping the heavens and earth. Yi Chen performed the 6th movement of the Green Lotus sword arts, the Green Lotus splitting the mountain. He slashed out horizontally and vertically, and the cross-shaped sword light covered the heaven and earth, shattering the endless meteors and rocks. It landed on Shen Tujue's body, forcefully crushing him into a barren mountain, where his figure could no longer be seen. Golden Waterfall Space Slash. Dragon-Snake combination attack. Taking advantage of the time when Yi Chen was dealing with Shen Tujue, Elder Li and Elder Fu ignored their blood-stained bodies, each wielding a high-grade saber and spear as they fiercely charged towards Yi Chen. Scram! Clothes fluttering in the wind, Yi Chen swept his sword horizontally. Green lotuses bloomed, and sword Qi disappeared. The sword Qi slashed down on the high-grade bejeweled weapons and a terrifying force flowed through the blade and spear. With 2 cracking sounds, Elder Li and Elder Fu's arms were broken and they were sent flying while coughing out blood. 3 extreme astral reaching experts, no, 3 astral reaching paragons, couldn't even block a single sword strike from Yi Chen, suffering injuries one after another. Not to mention Shen Tujue, whose life and death were unknown, Elder Li was already frightened to the extreme. Even the taciturn Elder Fu was trembling. Too frightening. How could such a frightening character appear in the astral reaching realm? Not to mention that they had never encountered such a character, they had never even heard of such a character. Rumble. The barren mountain shattered, and Shuntu Ju rushed out. Pointing at Yi Chen, he said with bloodshot eyes, "Kid Yi, don't be too complacent. Offending my floating mountain, don't think of having a peaceful day in the future. Just wait for wave after wave of attacks." Finished speaking, he turned to the two elders and said, "Let's go." He had never thought that Yi Chen would dare to kill them. After all, they were different from Daoist Jin Huang, who was merely a core elder, and had a lot more strength than him. On the other hand, the three of them were the most powerful existences in the floating mountain astral reaching realm. Killing them was tantamount to declaring war with the floating mountain sect. Therefore, even if Yi Chen had more guts, he wouldn't dare to kill them. At this moment, he wanted to leave. What could the other party do to him? This was the might of a 6th grade sect. Ha ha ha. Yi Chen faced the sky and laughed heartily, his killing intent surging. "If you want to leave, leave. Have you asked my sword? Die." The greenwood sword danced, causing the air to violently revolve. Numerous green lotuses appeared out of nowhere, growing from thumb-sized to dozens of meters in size. With a shake of Yi Chen's arm, the greenwood sword sprinkled out layer upon layer of sword light. The sword light expanded sharply as it charged towards the three. "You dare to make a move? Don't tell me you want to declare war with my floating mountain." Shuntu Ju didn't manage to utter the last word, because the sword light had already arrived. Although Shuntu Ju had strengthened his protective Jin Yuan to the limit at the first moment, the dark green light was like jade. However, he had underestimated Yi Chen, who had already activated his killing intent. The sword light, which contained a frightening sword intent, was like charcoal burning on a cotton cloth, easily piercing through his protective Jin Yuan and chopping off both of his arms. Soon after, even more sword lights arrived, causing Shuntu Ju to continuously puke blood through the dark green armor. The sudden increase in attack power made Shuntu Ju panic. He didn't think that Yi Chen would not care about the power of the floating mountain sect at all, and would attack without any hesitation. The intense pain caused him to let out a blood-curdling scream. Looking down at both of his arms, he realized that both of his arms had been cut off from the shoulder. From now on, he had become a cripple. The fear on his face turned into hatred. Damn it, how dare you cut off my arms? I, Shuntu Ju, will not let you live under the same sky. I will destroy your Yi family and Sky Cloud Martial School. Yi Chen's eyes were ice-cold. This person definitely couldn't be left alive. Kill. With his green lotus Jin Yuan surging, Yi Chen was about to unleash another sword attack. "Brat Yi, you have to think this through. If you kill Elder Shuntu, no one will be able to save you. My floating mountain sect will definitely march south and kill our way into the Windy Nation." Elder Li's face turned pale with fright as he threatened. Elder Fu's expression was cold. "If you dare to make a move, I, Elder Fu, guarantee that no one related to you will be left alive. Killing one is killing, 3 is also killing. You can come and go as you please. How can there be such a good thing in this world? On the road to the Yellow Springs, you can go first." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Chen's greenwood sword was swung out heavily. Dozens of li away, the gray-haired old man, who was watching this scene, suddenly paled. An intense killing intent surfaced in his eyes, and the air around him exploded. This time, his mission was to obstruct the expert behind Yi Chen and save Yi Chen. After all, Shuntu Ju and the other two possessed upper-grade artifacts. With the three of them joining hands, any astral-reaching expert would fall, and Yi Chen would be no exception. However, the situation had completely spiraled out of his control. Not only did Shuntu Ju and the other two fail to kill Yi Chen, they were instead slaughtered by Yi Chen. It was a tragic sight. If he were to tell others, the majority of people wouldn't believe it. Even the gray-haired old man himself didn't dare to believe it. The plan had changed. The gray-haired old man couldn't just watch as Yi Chen killed the three. Unfortunately, he was too far away from the uninhabited island. He immediately regretted not paying attention. If he had paid attention to this robbery, he would have approached long ago. With his Sea of Soul Realm methods, he wouldn't have been discovered. A distance of dozens of li, even with his speed as a Sea of Soul Realm expert, couldn't be crossed in an instant. Even if he attacked, it would be too late. Yi Chen had already made his move. The only thing he could do was to warn him. Little bastard, stop. If you dare to kill the three of them, this old man will let you know the meaning of pain. Your Yi family and Sky Cloud sect will also be completely erased. Under the cover of Sea of Soul Realm Zhenyuan, the sound traveled to the uninhabited island at an explosive speed, entering Yi Chen's ears in a tenth of a second. In your dreams. Yi Chen had already made up his mind. The greenwood sword, which had reached the optimal angle, shot out waves of indestructible sword chi. The sword chi was like a tide, instantly drowning the three. Kai 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 kai, 1,000 cuts, 1,000 cuts, 1,000 cuts, 1,000 cuts. Under the torrent of sword chi, the three were sliced into a bloody mist. Only the area protected by the upper-grade artifacts remained intact. As for the mid-grade artifacts, although Yi Chen couldn't destroy them, the sword chi still struck them, and the frightening power vibrated at an extremely high frequency, turning them into a bloody mist. One sword strike killed 3 people. The grey-haired old man froze for a moment, feeling incomparably shocked and furious. He had already warned Yi Chen, but the latter dared to ignore him. Little bastard, you dare to ignore this old man? Buzz. The space suddenly distorted as the grey-haired old man teleported over. With 2 or 3 flickers, the grey-haired old man appeared in the sky above the uninhabited island. Yi Chen looked straight at the grey-haired old man. He could tell that the latter was a Sea of Soul Realm expert, and not an ordinary one at that. That frightening aura even expelled the air, turning the surroundings into a vacuum. With him as the center, all the shattered objects within several li floated up. Catcher! Catcher! The ground suddenly cracked open, unable to bear the pressure of a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Originally, this old man didn't intend to kill you. You don't deserve it. But today, this old man will make an exception. Dying in this old man's hands is something you can be proud of. The grey-haired old man didn't care about the rules or the experts behind him. If he wanted to kill, he would kill. Yi Chen had already succeeded in angering him. He raised his right hand, and masses of dark cyan chi rapidly revolved, expanding from several meters to several hundred meters. It was like a huge millstone. As the millstone formed, gales rose in the sky, dark clouds covered the sky, and thunder and lightning interweaved. The speed at which the ground crumbled became faster and faster. After killing you, this old man will personally make a trip to Windy Nation. But you won't be able to see the scene of blood flowing like a river. Bang! The grey-haired old man let out a low roar. The huge millstone flew out of his hand, completely ignoring the distance between them as it instantly bombarded toward Yi Chen's face. If this strike landed, even if Yi Chen was wearing an upper-grade defensive artifact, the golden gilt armor, he would die without a doubt. However, his expression was calm, without a trace of panic. I'd like to see how you kill him and personally make a trip to Windy Nation. Get lost. At the critical moment, a sky-covering huge hand appeared out of nowhere. Its 5 fingers closed, and the huge millstone seemed to have entered a cage. It didn't even have the chance to struggle before it was grabbed by the huge hand. Dong! A muffled explosion resounded. The dark clouds scattered, and thunder and lightning flew everywhere. The huge hand lightly clenched, and the huge millstone shattered into nothingness. After several years, the sky-covering huge hand had reappeared. Chapter 386. Who is it? Trying to hide. The grey-haired old man's complexion changed. He wasn't astonished at the might of the sky-covering hand. In fact, that move was merely a casual attack of his. What truly made him apprehensive was that the newcomer's concealment skill was extremely profound. He had actually failed to discover the opponent's existence. Spreading out his soul power, the grey-haired old man finally sensed a trace of fluctuation on the lake surface 10 li away. Splash! A thin layer of water curtain descended. This water curtain was colorless and formless, almost fusing with the void. Looking at it with the naked eye, it seemed to be nothing. Even if one radiated their soul power, it would be absorbed by the water curtain, unable to sense the slightest fluctuation. The gray-haired old man didn't know that the expert behind Yi Chen had such a frightening concealment skill, so he didn't pay much attention. As the water curtain dissipated, a 30-years-old dignified woman appeared in the sight of Yi Chen and the gray-haired old man. Sect leader Long Yi Chen was relieved. 3 years ago, he had guessed that the owner of the sky-covering hand was South Rudra Sect's sect leader Long Bai, and it was just as he had expected. Long Bai suspiciously glanced at Yi Chen. She didn't know why, but she was very clear that the gray-haired old man hadn't noticed her. Yet, Yi Chen seemed to be aware of it. Could it be her misconception? After all, an astral-reaching expert, no matter how powerful his battle power was, couldn't have such great accomplishments in the aspect of soul power that he could see through her traces. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. Long Bai dispelled this doubt. However, she had miscalculated this time. Yi Chen had indeed sensed Long Bai's fluctuation. That faintly discernible aura was exactly the same as the sky-covering hand. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ignored the gray-haired old man's warning and killed Shintujue and the other two. The gray-haired old man didn't sense sect leader Long's trace, which means that his soul power is inferior to mine. Seems like I've underestimated the strength of my soul. The soul was the origin of a person, and was hard to sense. Yi Chen only knew that his soul was not inferior to Sea of Soul realm experts, but he didn't know to what extent. Compared to the gray-haired old man, Yi Chen discovered that his advantage was much higher than he had imagined. Who are you? The gray-haired old man had never seen Long Bai before. Long Bai's tone was indifferent. You don't need to know my identity. You can go back to where you came from. I don't care who you are, but this kid killed 3 conclave elders of the Hanging Mountain. Even death cannot wipe out his crimes. As the supreme elder of the floating sky mountain, the gray-haired old man was second only to Long Bai. If he was scared away by Long Bai's words, wouldn't he become a laughingstock? If it's an astral reaching realm battle, then let the astral reaching realm take care of it. You and I are both at the Sea of Souls realm. It would be inappropriate for us to get involved in the astral reaching realm's business. If you don't let it go, then I will have to beat you back. Although Long Bai was a woman, her aura was as vast as the sea, and there was a trace of extraordinary domineeringness in her calmness. Beat me back. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Fine, I've long wanted to test the power of wave crack. I'll use you to test it out. The gray-haired old man laughed heartily. His voice was like muffled thunder, shaking the surrounding barren mountains. Without stopping, the gray-haired old man raised his hand and attacked Yi Chen. Today, nobody can save you, not even her. Die. He had the intention to exchange blows with Long Bai, but only after killing Yi Chen. Rumble. In front of Yi Chen, a dark cyan chi appeared out of nowhere and transformed into a huge millstone, rapidly crushing towards Yi Chen at lightning speed. Since you insist, then there's nothing to say. Long Bai slapped with one hand, shattering the millstone. At the same time, a soft force acted on Yi Chen's body, pushing him 10 li away. You're courting death. The gray-haired old man was enraged. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his arms shook. White wind blades condensed and floated 3 feet away from his body. These wind blades were not simple wind blades. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there were many tiny wind blades moving inside the wind blades. In other words, these wind blades were formed by the combination of even smaller wind blades. The concept of wind could no longer be described. Only the profound meaning of wind could push these wind blades, causing their power to reach an even more terrifying realm. Wind blade, go! As soon as he shouted, the wind blades collectively shot out. The distance of several li was practically non-existent. Yi Chen exclaimed in surprise. Wherever the wind blades passed, vacuum cracks would appear in the void, like a torn piece of cloth. And the most powerful thing was not this. Outside the wind blades, the space was distorted, as if it could not bear the cutting of the wind blades. To be able to distort space, what kind of shocking destructive power was this? 5 caltrop water caltrop. Long Bai's expression did not change. She stretched out her left hand, and waves of water rippled, forming a pyramid at an incredible speed. The pyramid was placed horizontally, protecting Long Bai inside. It was like a pyramid laid horizontally, with the sharp tip facing the wind blades. Bo 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 bo. When the wind blades hit the transparent pyramid, they were either bounced off or stuck inside. Their speed was reduced by 90%, and they could not display their original power at all. The bounced wind blades lost half of their power, but when they landed on the uninhabited island, the entire island trembled. The ground was plowed with bottomless ravines, and the ravines spread out. The uninhabited island showed signs of cracking, and the seawater gradually poured in. Such a powerful low-level defensive profound. It can actually block my wind blade. Even if the grey-haired old man hated Long Bai to the core, he had to admit that the defensive low-level profound martial skill she used was very powerful. This wind blade was not created by him, but by a senior of the floating mountain. It was an offensive low-level profound martial skill. Once it was used, there would be tiny wind blades moving inside the wind blades, increasing their power and terrifying destructive power. You take my soaring cloud dragon hand as well. Supporting the 5 caltrop water caltrop with her left hand, Long Bai's right hand spun. Water rippled, and a mountain-sized huge hand pressed toward the grey-haired old man. The huge hand was incomparably huge, covering the sun and the sky. The veins on the palm could be clearly seen. So what if I take one of your moves? The grey-haired old man was full of confidence. His body shook, and his Jin Yuan swelled, transforming into a faintly discernible stone statue phantom. This stone statue phantom had a clear structure, and every joint was seamless without the slightest flaw. Moreover, a dark blue flowing light pervaded the air, making it look like a crystal. This crystal protector of mine is one of Stone King's 3 great defensive profound martial skills. Although it is only a low-level one, its defense is absolutely extraordinary. Back in the day, Stone King was somewhat famous among ordinary life and death kings precisely because of its powerful defense. With the protection of this low-level defensive profound martial skill, the grey-haired old man didn't believe that Long Bai could break through it. As soon as she revealed a flaw, he would launch a fierce counterattack. The huge hand struck the stone statue phantom, causing gales to rise in the sky. A vast ripple radiated out, reaching dozens of li away. The lake water around the uninhabited island was pushed in every direction, reaching a height of over 1,000 meters. It was like a huge iron pot, and the uninhabited island was right at the bottom of the pot. As for Yi Chen, who was standing 10 li behind Long Bai, even he felt his footing becoming unstable, as if he would be blown away. One could easily imagine how frightening the aftermath of the battle was. Catcher. Abruptly, a crack appeared on the stone statue phantom, and the crack quietly extended, covering its entire body. Impossible. How could Crystal Protector fail to block her attack? The grey-haired old man roared, his figure explosively retreating. The huge hand chased for dozens of li before exhausting its strength and loudly collapsing. Very good. You are qualified for me to use Wave Split. Once I use this move, no matter how powerful your defense is, it will still be destroyed. With an ashen face, the grey-haired old man let out a long roar. Jin Yuan erupted like a volcano, fiercely pouring into his right arm. His withered right arm was like an inflated balloon, rapidly expanding to the thickness of an adult's waist. His clothes were instantly torn apart, exploding into pieces. Wave Split. A fist containing a frightening power was thrown out, and the grey-haired old man's body was forced back 3 steps. Circles of space wrinkles appeared in the space in front of him. The wrinkles spread crazily, getting faster and faster, and the power was getting stronger and stronger. In the end, the space wrinkles began to show signs of exploding. Wave Split is my own creation, so it is most suitable for me. Wind Wave Blade and Crystal Protector are, after all, profound martial skills created by others, so I can't use them to their limits. Only the one created by myself is most suitable for me. Have a taste of its power, the grey-haired old man thought. Facing the incoming power, Long Bai slightly creased her brows. She could already feel the terror of this move. Not only was distance unable to obstruct it, but its power was also stacked layer by layer. If it met an external force, it would explode crazily, and the 5 caltrops might not be able to resist it. As she expected, the moment the 5 caltrops came into contact with the wave split power, they rapidly disintegrated. The exploding water shot up 10,000 meters into the sky, and she herself had to retreat more than 10 steps before the impact was neutralized. This move is indeed not bad. Unfortunately, the gap between you and me can't be made up. Reverse current chop. Without a trace of panic on her face, Long Bai straightened her palm as a blade and chopped at the extremely condensed wave split power. Kai. The wave split power was extremely powerful, but Long Bai's reverse current chop seemed to be able to restrain it. The blade energy rushed out and split the power in half, and the water curtain-like blade energy rapidly chopped at the grey-haired old man's body. Puff. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, the grey-haired old man's stone statue phantom completely shattered, and he was sent flying dozens of li away. It's over. At this point, Yi Chen was already clear that the grey-haired old man and Long Bai were a level apart. There wasn't much suspense. He couldn't have imagined that the ordinary South Rudra sect's leader would be a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Including Sky Cloud sect's leader, the other 4 sect leaders could stand side by side with her. It was simply a mockery. I'll remember this palm. I'll certainly pay you a visit in the future. The grey-haired old man no longer dared to tangle with Long Bai. Leaving behind a ruthless sentence, he shot off into the distance. With a flicker, he was already dozens of li away. Long Bai's voice spread out, "You don't need to pay me a visit. I'll make a trip to Floating Mountain in the future. Tell Sikong Ba for me." Vaguely, Yi Chen seemed to see the grey-haired old man's figure stagger. Chapter 387. Waiting until the grey-haired old man disappeared, Yi Chen flew over and cupped his hands towards Long Bai. "Many thanks to sect leader Long for saving my life a second time." Long Bai retracted her oppressive aura and turned around. "Last time, I didn't tell you my identity because you still couldn't reach this level. But now, you're already the strongest existence among astral-reaching experts. Stepping into Sea of Soul Realm is only a matter of time. Junior understands." Pausing for a bit, Long Bai continued, "I can see that your progress in sword will is extraordinary. Let me ask you, have you condensed a sword soul?" Condensing a sword soul at the astral-reaching realm was something that not many people had been able to do since the ancient times, and those who had been able to do it were all world-shaking figures. It should be known that condensing a sword soul was several times harder than condensing a martial soul. Not to mention condensing a sword soul at the astral-reaching realm, even a lot of powerful sword artists who had reached the Sea of Souls realm years ago might not be able to successfully condense a sword soul. The more powerful it was, the more difficult it would be. "Nope." Yi Chen denied, then changed his tone, "But, in terms of sword will, I'm not inferior to ordinary Sea of Soul realm sword artists. Could it be because of Battle King's immortal sword will?" Long Bai didn't ask about the immortal sword will. Everyone had their own secrets, and people without secrets didn't exist. But, even if he had the immortal sword will, its might shouldn't be that great. Of course, she didn't know that Yi Chen's soul was also not inferior to ordinary Sea of Soul realm experts. Moreover, it was at the peak of Sea of Soul realm. A powerful soul and a powerful sword will were what made Yi Chen so powerful. Forget it. Peak geniuses all have extremely outstanding aspects. Perhaps, your achievements in sword will might surpass Battle King. Of course, the premise is that you can enter life and death realm. After saying these words, Long Bai's face turned solemn. "South Rudra region is my territory. I can guarantee that you won't be attacked by Sea of Soul realm experts. But, once you leave South Rudra region, you'll have to rely on yourself. Even if you're chased by Sea of Soul realm experts, no one will save you. Luck is also a part of strength. Thank you for your concern. Sect Master Long Yi Chen will keep this in mind." The battle between Long Bai and the grey-haired old man was earth-shattering. Yi Chen was very clear that although he had some advantages in certain aspects, in terms of battle power, he was far weaker than the grey-haired old man. Ordinary Sea of Soul realm experts were also divided into different levels. The weakest among them were undoubtedly those who had just entered the Sea of Soul realm and had yet to cultivate peak Earth-grade cultivation techniques or martial skills. They had yet to successfully condense their martial soul or sword soul. Sea of Soul realm experts of this level were definitely the lowest of existences. Their only advantage was the advantage of cultivation realm. Yi Chen had the confidence to contend against them. Above them were those who had cultivated peak Earth-grade cultivation techniques, but had yet to reach perfection. Similarly, their peak Earth-grade martial skills had yet to reach perfection, and they couldn't create their own low-grade profound sense martial skills. Even if they learned the low-grade profound sense martial skills left behind by their predecessors, they wouldn't be that powerful. Yi Chen was confident that as long as he cultivated Green Lotus sword arts to the highest 15th layer, comprehended the 9th style of Green Lotus sword arts, and successfully condensed his sword soul, he would have the qualifications to battle. After that would be the core strength of ordinary Sea of Soul realm experts. Their peak Earth-grade cultivation techniques and martial skills had all reached perfection, and their low-grade profound sense martial skills were still in the process of comprehending. After that would be the grey-haired old man's level. Not only had they cultivated their cultivation techniques and martial skills to perfection, they had also comprehended their own low-grade profound sense martial skills. Moreover, they had also learned many kinds of low-grade profound sense martial skills left behind by their predecessors. Their strength was extremely frightening. As for Long Bai's strength, Yi Chen couldn't analyze it, because he didn't know whether she had used her full strength or not. So, how could he analyze it? According to Battle King's rich knowledge, in the Sea of Soul realm, cultivation base accounts for 30% of the battle power, while martial spirit and martial skills are the key factors. The two together account for 70%. Long Bai faintly nodded. Yi Chen's temperament was steady, which made her feel at ease. Recalling something, she said, "You should know that I am not from Windy Nation, nor from South Rudra region. The power I belong to is called Dragon God Celestial Palace. The Palace Master is my great-grandfather, known as Dragon King. He is one of the oldest kings of True Spirit Continent. He thinks very highly of you, but he doesn't want to take you as his disciple. You have to walk your own path, and restricting you will only limit your potential. What I find strange is that he has taken a fancy to your Sky Cloud sect's core elder, Xu Jing, and wishes to take her as his disciple. Of course, he doesn't want her to leave Sky Cloud sect, but rather, he wants her to have two identities at the same time." Long Bai was a member of Dragon God Celestial Palace. From Battle King's rich knowledge, Yi Chen had long since learned that Dragon God Celestial Palace was a 5th-grade sect. Apart from Dragon King's Dragon King token, there was also the Little Dragon token, which was usually in the hands of people with extremely high status. Even Dragon King's blood relatives had some. Long Bai had the Little Azure Dragon token, so she was undoubtedly an important person of Dragon God Celestial Palace. What surprised him was that Dragon King actually took a fancy to Xu Jing and wanted to take her as his disciple. In Yi Chen's eyes, Xu Jing's talent and comprehension were undoubtedly top-notch. However, it had not reached the level where she could look down on everyone else. Dragon King didn't want to take anyone else as his disciple, but only her. The meaning behind it was not that simple. Since Dragon King had spoken, Yi Chen naturally had no objections. Not to mention that Dragon King wouldn't harm Xu Jing. Even if he did, Yi Chen wouldn't have the slightest way to do anything. As a dignified life and death king, one of the oldest kings of True Spirit Continent, he held the life and death of millions and millions of people in his hands. His status was transcendent. If he wanted to take Xu Jing as his disciple, it would be a good thing for him at the moment. Sect leader Long, this is a good thing. Why discuss it with me? Long Bai smiled and said, "Seems like you still don't know. Grandfather values you very much. The necessary respect cannot be omitted. Then, I'll thank Senior Dragon King on behalf of Xu Jing. If there's nothing else, come back to Windy Nation with me. In a few days, someone from Dragon God Celestial Palace will come to pick up Xu Jing." All right. Above the undulating mountain range, an unceasingly flickering beam of light swept past, shooting toward a distant floating mountain peak. In the main palace of the floating mountain peak, Sikong Ba's brows creased. Swish. A figure appeared in the center of the palace. You're injured. Not waiting for the newcomer to speak, Sikong Ba asked in astonishment. The figure was precisely the gray-haired old man. He touched the wound on his chest and said with a gloomy expression, "We've all underestimated that person. Her strength is much higher than mine. I received a hand blade from her. Without 3 months of rest, I won't be able to recover." A hand blade. So powerful. As a mid-sea of Soul Realm expert, Sikong Ba naturally knew how difficult it was to injure a Sea of Soul Realm expert of the same level and then recuperate for half a year. Ordinary minor injuries didn't require 3 months of rest. 1 month was more than enough to recover. Her achievements in the water profound are extremely high. Moreover, she said that she would pay a visit to my floating mountain and asked me to inform you. Hearing these words, Sikong Ba's complexion greatly changed. Paying a visit to my floating mountain? What does she want? In terms of strength, although he was stronger than the gray-haired old man, there was a limit. If nothing unexpected happened, the strength of the expert behind Yi Chen was not below his. It was quite possible for them to attack the floating mountain. However, since the other party didn't chase after the gray-haired old man, it shouldn't be because of this. Sect leader, I'll return to heal first. With blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth, the gray-haired old man didn't want to stay any longer. He turned around and left. Before leaving, he shot out 4 beams of light, which were 4 upper-grade artifacts. Reaching out to catch them, Sikong Ba was speechless. The artifacts had returned, but the person hadn't. This was truly a huge loss. Catcher. With the armrest cracked, Sikong Ba coldly said, "Back then, my ancestor Kang King showed kindness to Prison King. It's time to repay this kindness. As long as a direct disciple of Prison King makes a move, you'll die without a burial no matter how powerful you are." Prison King was one of the most powerful kings under Shu King. He was as famous as Shenhu, Evil King, and the rest. Nobody knew that when Prison King was weak, Kang King had helped him. After Kang King's death, Prison King sent a letter to Sikong clan, saying that he would help Sikong clan with 3 matters within his power. "Page, since you want to pay a visit to my floating mountain, come. I'll make sure you don't return." A domineering voice reverberated in the main hall. Originally, with Yi Chen's speed, it would have taken him at least a month to return to Windy Nation. However, with the support of Long Bai's Jin Yuan, it only took him 5 days. "It's inconvenient for me to appear. You'll have to explain the matter with Shu Jing." Several thousand li away from Sky Cloud Sect, Long Bai said to Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded, "I know. Then, I'll take my leave first. I'll help you settle your dispute with Floating Mountain." As her voice faded, Long Bai turned around and flew off. "Many thanks." Yi Chen naturally knew that Long Bai was going to Floating Mountain. As long as Floating Mountain didn't give up on chasing after him, he would be in danger. This time, he had killed 3 extreme astral reaching experts. Next, it would be Sea of Soul Realm experts chasing after him. The only ones who could stop Floating Mountain were Long Bai and the Dragon God Celestial Palace behind her. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen gazed in the direction of Sky Cloud Sect's Cool Breeze Mountain, then circulated his Jin Yuan and shot over. Because Yi Chen didn't conceal his Jin Yuan fluctuations, Cloud Dreamer and Thunder Freer immediately sensed his return. "Yi Chen, come to my Cloud Dreamer Peak." Cloud Dreamer transmitted through the air. Cloud Dreamer Peak. Both Cloud Dreamer and Thunder Freer were present. "Yi Chen, you're back. I heard you were chased by 4 extreme astral reaching experts and fell into the bewilderment fog forbidden zone. It gave us quite a fright." Thunder Freer faintly smiled. Yi Chen apologetically said, "I've let the 2 seniors worry. Hihi, it's good that you're back. Don't you think so, Cloud Dreamer?" "Of course." Yi Chen smiled. He could tell that the 2 seniors were truly concerned about him. It was not only because of his importance, but also because they considered him as a junior. "Seniors, there's something I need to discuss with you. Dragon God Celestial Palace Master, Dragon King, wishes to take Shu Jing as his disciple." "Dragon King wishes to take Shu Jing as his disciple?" Cloud Dreamer and Thunder Freer were aghast. Yes. We don't have the final say in this matter. It's up to Shu Jing to agree. Yi Chen nodded. The decision was in Shu Jing's hands. Neither of them could make the decision. Chapter 388. Shu Jing seemed to have long since known that Dragon King wanted to take her as a disciple. Therefore, when Yi Chen arrived at the Core Elder Hall and informed her of his purpose, she was not too surprised. She merely nodded and asked, "In the past half a year, news about you has been spreading everywhere. Are you all right?" Yi Chen smiled. "How could I be all right? On the other hand, you don't seem to care much about Dragon King taking you as a disciple." "Actually, I've talked to Dragon King." "You've met Dragon King?" Shu Jing shook her head. "No, it was just a voice transmission. He said that if I want to know my background, I must come to Dragon God Celestial Palace. In the whole world, perhaps only he knows my background. Moreover, he can't confirm it at the moment." Background. Hearing these words, Yi Chen became pensive. In all these years, he indeed hadn't heard Shu Jing talk about her family, and he hadn't asked about it either. It seemed that Shu Jing's background was not simple. It had actually drawn Dragon King's attention. Only, how did Dragon King notice it was too puzzling? "If I told you that my memories before the age of 10 were blank, would you believe me?" Shu Jing suddenly said. Yi Chen was surprised. How was it possible to have a blank memory before he was 10 years old? Unless he had been injured in the head and lost all of his memories, or someone had erased all of them. Both of these possibilities were extremely small, and it was the key to the problem. "I only know that when I woke up, I had the appearance of a 10-year-old. I couldn't remember anything before, and I didn't even know who my parents were. Later on, my foster parents found me and brought me back to the Shu family. As their foster daughter, I got the name Shu Jing. Can you remember something now?" Shu Jing muttered, "I can remember a little bit intermittently, but I can't link them together." "Forget it. Since Senior Dragon King said that he might know something about my background, he'll know sooner or later, and I'll recover my memories." Yi Chen faintly nodded. Dragon King was one of the oldest kings of True Spirit Continent, so he must know a lot. Even Battle King couldn't compare. The next day, Dragon God Celestial Palace's people arrived. There were 3 of them, led by a Sea of Soul Realm expert in his 30s. His eyes were sharp, and his pupils were vertical. They didn't look like human eyes, but more like those of a beast. Although he had restrained his aura, in Yi Chen's perception, his every movement seemed to raise a huge wave that wanted to drown Sky Cloud Sect. Terrifying indeed. However, he's still no match for Sect Master Long. Sect Master Long's aura seems to be shrouded in a dense fog, making it hard for one to see through him. Yi Chen shifted his gaze and looked at the 2 young men beside him. These 2 were a man and a woman. The man was about 24 or 25 years old, and the woman was also about the same age. Judging from their aura, they were clearly at the peak of late astral reaching realm. Moreover, their auras were extremely powerful. People with powerful auras didn't necessarily have powerful strength. It was just like the emperors in the secular world. Their strength might not be the highest, but as emperors, their auras were incomparably powerful. Those at the same level or stronger than them would be affected by their auras, unknowingly lowering their heads. Generally speaking, people with powerful auras were bound to have powerful souls and wills. Of course, it was also related to their environment. There was a good saying, "Better be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix." It was a kind of aura that was above others. 5th grade Dragon God Celestial Palace is indeed not a small matter. 2 random youngsters have auras that surpass Sikong Sheng, and are not inferior to Snowy Hall's disciple Feng Yenro. Since Shu Jing can become Dragon King's disciple, her future achievements are guaranteed. Sucking in a deep breath, Yi Chen went up to greet them. "I'm Supreme Elder Yi Chen of Sky Cloud Sect." "And you are? You're Yi Chen?" The young man looked straight at Yi Chen. "That's right. Not bad. No wonder Senior Sister Long thinks so highly of you." The young man didn't mean to look down on Yi Chen, but his tone gave off an old-fashioned feeling. It seemed to have become a habit of his. Faintly, there was also the arrogance of an expert. Don't mind him. He talks like this no matter who he talks to. The young woman beside him said. Yi Chen faintly smiled. Don't worry, I won't fuss over it. We are both teacher's disciples. Our teacher's identity is the Honorable Dragon King of True Spirit Continent, the Palace Master of Dragon God Celestial Palace. This is my third senior brother Fang Hai. As for us two, because we haven't entered the Sea of Soul Realm, we don't have a ranking. We are merely teacher's disciples. I'm Li Ying, and his Luo Jie. Li Ying introduced to Yi Chen. Senior brother Fang Hai, you don't mind me calling you like this, right? Although Yi Chen wasn't Dragon King's disciple, it didn't prevent him from calling this Sea of Soul Realm expert senior brother. After all, Xu Jing would become Dragon King's disciple in the future, and he and Xu Jing were once disciples of the same generation. This Fang Hai, who was in his 30s but still had the appearance of a young man, faintly smiled. Of course I don't mind. Teacher once told me that your chances of entering the life and death realm are much higher than mine. I didn't believe it at first, but after seeing you in person, I believe it. I can hear a sword cry from your body, which is the sign of an extremely dense sword intent. Fang Hai himself was a swordsman, so he could sense the sword intent hidden deep within Yi Chen. However, since teacher doesn't intend to take you as a disciple, he must have his own plans. Here, as teacher's third disciple, I have to remind you that South Rudra region is only a very small region. The continent has 4 regions: Eastern region, Southern region, Western region, and Northern region. South Rudra region is only one of the 4 regions, and it is very small. Being able to stand out in South Rudra region is nothing. The geniuses outside are like the stars in the sky, countless. Every day, countless stars rise, and countless stars fall. If you want your star to blossom with a bright radiance, you will have a very long way to go. I, Fang Hai, have followed Master for dozens of years, and have met countless geniuses. Some of them even shock me, and they are very frightening. For example, in our southern region, there are a few young geniuses that even made teacher sigh in admiration. I believe you will meet them in the future. Therefore, don't slack off in the slightest, and don't disappoint teacher. It wasn't hard to see that Fang Hai was extremely respectful towards Dragon King. Since Dragon King thought highly of Yi Chen, Fang Hai treated Yi Chen as someone close to him and earnestly advised him. Many thanks for senior brother Fang Hai's warning. Yi Chen will keep it in mind. Yi Chen could vaguely sense Fang Hai's sword Dao, which was as vast as the ocean. Oh right, senior brother Fang Hai, sect leader Long has already left for Floating Mountain. Is everything all right? Yi Chen suddenly asked. Fang Hai smiled. It's the second senior sister, right? She's fine. Back then, Prison King was indebted to Kang Emperor. After his death, Prison King promised to help Sikong family with 3 matters. Now, Sikong Ba must have contacted Prison King's direct disciple. Unfortunately, among the 6 disciples of Prison King, only the eldest disciple can suppress the second senior sister. Moreover, Prison King knows about teacher's actions in South Rudra region. The direct disciple he sent is only there to coordinate, and won't fight. So it's like that. Yi Chen faintly nodded. His eyes moved to Xu Jing, who was behind Yi Chen, and Fang Hai said, Is this the junior sister disciple? Apart from cultivation base, there seems to be something else. Xu Jing said indifferently, I specialize in strength. Specialize in strength. So that's how it is. Same as teacher. Fang Hai revealed a rather astonishing fact to Yi Chen. One of the oldest kings of True Spirit Continent, Dragon King, actually specialized in strength. The knowledge Battle King had imparted to him didn't mention this. It's getting late. Junior sister, follow us back to Dragon God Celestial Palace, Fang Hai said. Xu Jing glanced at Yi Chen. Yi Chen revealed a faint smile. Go. We'll meet again soon. That's not necessarily true. With teacher's guidance, our progress is not something you can imagine. If you don't redouble your efforts, you'll be eliminated. Waiting until the youngster left, Sikong Ba's face turned dejected as he ordered, Send the order. From now on, Floating Mountain Sect and Yi Chen's grudges are written off. Don't provoke Sky Cloud Sect, Yi family, and South Rudra Sect. Violators will be killed without mercy. All of you, step down. This result was completely out of Seekong Ba's expectations. The expert behind Yi Chen was actually Dragon King's second disciple, and also a direct descendant of Dragon King. Not to mention Floating Mountain Sect was only a 6th grade sect. Even a 5th grade sect with Life and Death Kings couldn't compare to Dragon God Celestial Palace. Dragon King was one of the strongest kings under Shu King, and also one of the oldest kings. Chapter 389. Before returning to the Yi family, Yi Chen had left behind a large amount of low-grade spirit stones and martial arts manuals. In the Battle of Bewilderment Fog Island, dozens of astral-reaching experts had died at his hands, including the island master. Their storage rings had all fallen into Yi Chen's hands, causing Yi Chen's low-grade spirit stones to surpass 10 million, reaching a colossal amount of 15 million. Just the black-robed island master alone had contributed more than 5 million low-grade spirit stones. From this, one could see how wealthy Yi Chen was. Low-grade spirit stones didn't have much use for Yi Chen. Astral-reaching experts basically wouldn't use low-grade spirit stones to cultivate, and the items that astral-reaching experts needed couldn't be bought with low-grade spirit stones. Only mid-grade spirit stones were what astral-reaching experts needed. Therefore, Yi Chen directly gave Sky Cloud Sect 8 million low-grade spirit stones. With enough low-grade spirit stones, the young generation of Sky Cloud Sect would have enough resources to charge into higher realms. In true spirit continent, talent and perception were important, but resources were equally important. Fortuitous encounters could be classified as resources to a certain extent. After this trip home, I'll be leaving South Rudra region for a long time. Take these spirit stones as a farewell gift. On the summit, Yi Chen tore through the air and left. Luo City, Yi family. In front of a lake that occupied dozens of acres, a figure stood there. Zzz. Lightning flickered in the figure's hand, sometimes transforming into a bear, sometimes into a leopard, and sometimes into a lion. When in bear form, a frightening power gathered, enough to split mountains. When in leopard form, the lightning became much more agile, unceasingly leaping about. When in lion form, the power was boosted by speed, doubling its lethality. It was like a combination of bear and leopard form. Although Thunder Beast transformation is a hammer art manual, it doesn't hinder me from comprehending it. Earth-grade top-rank manuals are indeed extraordinary. In a short period of time, I can only comprehend the third transformation with my perception. There's still a long way to go before I can comprehend the fourth transformation. I feel that I can find the opportunity to fuse the 8 styles of Sky Cloud sword arts from Thunder Beast transformation. It was indeed Yi Chen. It had been 3 days since he had returned from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Besides the family meeting that he had to attend on the first day, the second and third days had been quite relaxing. He had been chatting with his parents, playing with his 3-year-old brother and sister, and trying to learn the Thunder Beast transformation to prepare for the sky-shattering clouds. Right now, the power of sky-shattering clouds was almost the same as the 8th movement of Green Lotus sword arts. However, this was not its full potential. If he could fuse it into the 8th movement, its power would definitely not be any weaker than the unfinished 9th movement of Green Lotus sword arts. Fusing the 9th movement would make it a low-rank profound sword movement. Although it would be a low-rank profound sword movement created by the fusion and not created by Yi Chen himself, there would not be any difference. They would all be his own profound sword movements, the ones that were most suitable for him. The 9th movement of Green Lotus sword arts does not need to be rushed. I feel that the sky-shattering clouds with the 8 movements will be created first. Fusing the sword movement sky-shattering clouds had consumed a lot of Yi Chen's energy and sweat, which made Yi Chen have a deep understanding of it. This was something that Green Lotus sword arts could not compete with. Wow! Such a beautiful lightning. Brother, how did you do it? A young voice was heard, with a strong sense of curiosity. Yi Chen turned around and saw 2 cute kids looking at the lightning in his hands. Their eyes were full of longing. Little Xian, little Xiao. A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. The two kids were his younger brother and sister. The younger brother was called Yi Xian, and the younger sister was called Yi Xiaoxiao. Both of them were 3 years old this year, and were very lively and cute. "Brother, teach me." The younger brother, Yi Xian, jumped and clapped his hands. Yi Xiaoxiao did not want to be outdone. "Teach me too. Little guy, don't make it hard for your brother." Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing walked over. "Father, mother." Yi Chen let go of the lightning and picked up Yi Xian and Yi Xiaoxiao. "You can only learn when you grow up." "Why can't I learn when I grow up?" Yi Xiaoxiao blinked her eyes and asked back. "Because it is not the time for you to train yet. Your brother, I, have also started training when I was 10 years old. For now, you just need to play." Looking at his younger brother and sister, Yi Chen recalled the time when he was young. At that time, he had asked his father and mother the same question. Clearing his throat, Yi Tianhao said, "Chen, as your father, I originally did not want to be an obstacle to you. However, in this half a year, I heard that you were being chased by 4 extreme astral reaching experts and were forced into the bewilderment fog forbidden zone. Your mother and I were very sad. This time, you want to leave South Rudra region and roam the continent. There will be many dangers along the way. What I want to know is, do you really have to leave South Rudra region? Perhaps, even in South Rudra region, you can become a peak existence." Shen Yuqing did not say anything, but from her eyes, one could tell that the two had the same opinion. Yi Chen glanced at the two and shook his head. "Father, mother, do you know how big True Spirit continent is?" Yi Tianhao was a bit confused, not knowing what Yi Chen was trying to say. Adding them all up, there would be more than 35 of them. However, in every 100 years, there would not be more than 10 life and death realm warriors. Every 100 years, there would be dozens of young warriors. With so many geniuses, and less than 10 of them being able to become life and death realm warriors, it is not hard to imagine how intense the competition would be. Therefore, in a peaceful environment, one would eventually be overshadowed. If you do not try to improve, you would be surpassed by others. If you do not improve, it would mean that you are regressing. This world was never created for one person. If you want to reach the top, you can only rely on yourself. Yes, I am. But, I do not know how many young warriors would be born in this world. My generation would only take up 5 or 10 years of the time. In 100 years, there would be dozens of young warriors. With so many geniuses, and less than 10 of them being able to become life and death realm warriors, it is not hard to imagine how intense the competition would be. Therefore, in a peaceful environment, one would eventually be overshadowed. If you do not try to improve, you would be surpassed by others. If you do not improve, it would mean that you are regressing. This world was never created for one person. Yi Chen had never thought that he would become the main character of this world just because his soul had crossed over. Thinking back to the past, he had worked extra hard for every step he had taken. If he had thought that he would become the main character and did not strive to improve, then he would only be here as a visitor. He did not want his life to stop here and waste it. He wanted to use his own hands to reach the peak one after another. He wanted to understand all the mysteries of True Spirit continent, no, the whole universe. Feeling Yi Chen's determination and will, Yi Tianhao smiled bitterly. He did not try to convince Yi Chen, but was convinced by him. The determination to become a powerful warrior was not something that could be easily changed. Without any reason, Yi Tianhao suddenly felt a strong sense of pride. He, Yi Tianhao, was only the leader of the Yi family, one of the 8 great families of Windy Nation. He was nothing in Windy Nation, and even less in South Rudra region. Compared to the whole True Spirit continent, he was no different from an ant. But, what did it matter? He had a son who had a great ambition, a son who, in his opinion, could shake the whole True Spirit continent in the future. People always said that like father, like son, his son was a real dragon. After chatting for a while, Shen Yuqing wanted to take Yi Xian and Yi Xiaoxiao away, so that they would not disturb Yi Chen. Yi Chen laughed. "You guys go ahead. I will take care of them. A few days of cultivation won't make a difference. Big brother will leave in a few days." Xiao Xiao wants to stay with Big Brother for a while longer. Yi Xiao Xiao hugged Yi Chen's neck. Shen Yuqing and Yi Tianhao smiled helplessly. Yi Xian and Yi Xiao Xiao had not seen Yi Chen for 3 years, but they did not feel a sense of unfamiliarity. Instead, they were very close. Waiting until the two left, Yi Chen gave up on his cultivation and enjoyed the rare moment of relaxation. Do you guys want to fly? Yes. Alright, come one by one. Big Brother promises that you can fly by yourself. Just as the three were having fun, the space above the lake cracked open, as if a transparent mirror had been torn apart. At the same time, a kind-looking old man walked out. You are Senior Dragon King. Yi Chen recognized the old man. He was precisely one of the oldest kings of True Spirit Continent, the Dragon King. Battle King had an impression of him. The Dragon King walked up to Yi Chen and caressed Yi Xian and Yi Xiaoxiao's heads. These are your brothers and sisters. They are very cute. I thank Senior Dragon King for his praise. Retracting his palm, the Dragon King turned his attention to Yi Chen and nodded satisfactorily. Your appearance can be said to be an anomaly. I and Xianhu speculated that it would take a long time for South Rudra region to rise. However, you have broken this rule. The entire South Rudra region has begun to rise because of you. Its luck is also condensing. Although it is very, very weak, I can feel it. Anomaly? Yi Chen thought inwardly. He was indeed an anomaly. Who could have known that he came from another world? Even life and death kings were not omniscient. All of a sudden, the Dragon King pointed his finger at Yi Chen's forehead. An indescribable power poured into his sea of soul, but Yi Chen did not have any reaction. Retracting his finger, the Dragon King said with a stern face, I came this time to give you a protective talisman. Yi Chen put down his brother and sister and touched his forehead. In his sea of soul, a bright radiance of will was floating below the sword spirit embryo. It did not occupy a dominant position, and seemed to be just a bystander, not under Yi Chen's control, nor could he sense its might. Giving protective talismans to geniuses with potential is very common. I am not the only one doing this. Therefore, don't think that you are getting preferential treatment. This protective talisman of mine is a strand of will. This strand of will can only be used by you when you are close to death. Once it is used up, it will be gone. In other words, it can save your life and give you a chance to start over. However, don't be careless. There are many geniuses with protective talismans. When you kill them until they are close to death, it will arouse their deep wills. Because this will is not yours, it can only passively defend. Of course, the defense will be raised to a frightening level. The might of a living king's will is beyond your imagination. Many thanks, Senior Dragon King. Yi Chen was not overly hot-blooded. Among the same generation, he was not afraid of anyone. However, there was the possibility of Sea of Soul Realm experts chasing after him. At that time, the Dragon King's will would be his protective talisman. Having seen the will statue, he clearly knew how frightening a king's will was. Although the Dragon King's will could only passively defend and could not amplify his offense, it was enough. No need to thank me. In the future, perhaps I will need your help. Leaving behind these words, the Dragon King took a step back. As he did so, the space split open, revealing the pitch-black interior. The Dragon King's figure disappeared inside, and the space closed up again. Grandpa is so powerful. He disappeared so quickly. Yi Xian raised his head and said. Yi Chen caressed his head. Big Brother will show you in the future. Chapter 390. After staying in the Yi family for 7 days, on the 8th day, Yi Chen set off. Just like Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chen also gave the Yi family a large amount of low-grade spirit stones and martial skills. However, the amount was a bit less, since the Yi family's population was small, and their demand could not be compared to Sky Cloud Martial School. Moreover, with the existence of Yi Chen, the relationship between the Yi family and Sky Cloud Martial School could be said to be quite close. As long as the disciples of the Yi family were not too lacking in talent, entering Sky Cloud Martial School would not be a problem at all. In Sky Cloud Martial School, They could also learn a lot of martial skills and receive more comprehensive training. Leaving South Rudra region, the Star Regional Lake was the only way. It had a circumference of several million li, and could be ranked in the top few among all the lakes in the True Spirit continent. Blood Demon Battlefield, Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone, and other dangerous places were only at the edge of the Star Regional Lake, far from the core. The Blue Mountain Island should be in front, just like the map. Unknowingly, a month had passed, and Yi Chen gradually entered the depths of the Star Regional Lake. Above the Star Regional Lake, there were countless islands. The small ones were only a few li in circumference, while the big ones were tens of thousands of li in circumference. Most of the islands did not have any life, and only a few were inhabited by demonic beasts. Of course, there were also islands inhabited by humans. The island in front of him was 10,000 li in circumference. According to the Star Regional Lakes map, this island was called Blue Mountain Island. There was a small country established on it, with a population of over 100 million. Shua. A large number of martial artists left the Blue Mountain Island, and another large number of martial artists flew over. It was a scene of prosperity. Turning into a beam of light, Yi Chen landed in a city at the edge of the Blue Mountain Island. Walking on the street, watching the martial artists coming and going, Yi Chen thought to himself, this is indeed the True Spirit continent. The population is unimaginable. Even a relatively large island has more than 100 million people. This city must have at least a few million people. The nation built on the Blue Mountain Island was called the Blue Mountain Nation. Don't look down on the Blue Mountain Nation. Although the population of the Windy Nation was 10 times more than the Blue Mountain Nation, the high-level martial artists were not even worth mentioning. The royal family of the Blue Mountain Nation had thousands of astral-reaching experts. More importantly, the Blue Mountain Nation had 5 Sea of Soul Realm experts. With these 5 Sea of Soul Realm experts, the Blue Mountain Island could be called a tyrant in this boundless Star Regional Lake. Anyone under the life and death realm would have to think twice before making trouble. The number 3 Clasping Yuan Challenge Tournament is about to begin. Let's go check it out. Hehe, of course, we have to go check it out. Why did we come to this Blue Mountain Island? Isn't it because there are all kinds of ancient ruins around the island? If we are lucky, we might be able to find some spirit plants and weapons. If we are unlucky, we might still be able to see the world. Apart from that, the Blue Mountain Island Challenge Tournament is one of the best. A lot of martial artists from the South Rudra region, Thunder region, Wavy Cloud region, and Misty Snow region have gathered here. On the street, the martial artists were discussing among themselves. Ancient ruins, Clasping Yuan Challenge Tournament. Yi Chen revealed a smile. It was not without reason that he had chosen the Blue Mountain Island as his first stop. There was nothing special about this island, but the surroundings of the island were extremely special. Within 100,000 li radius, there were a lot of ancient ruins. Some were out in the open and could be seen from the sky, while some were in the depths of the lake, which could only be sensed after diving 10,000 meters deep. Because of the vastness of the Star Regional Lake, the bottom of the lake was not always calm. Instead, it was filled with turbulent undercurrents, which made it extremely easy to lose one's sense of direction. If it was easy to find, it meant that the treasures inside the ruins were all gone. If it was hard to find, it meant that there was still some profit to be made. Like a rolling snowball, more and more people arrived at the Blue Mountain Island. There were people from the South Rudra region, Thunder region, Wavy Cloud region, and even the Big Misty Snow region. The ancient ruins were an attraction, and the Blue Mountain Island Challenge Tournament was not any less attractive than the ancient ruins. Every region seemed to have their own challenges, and they were even more formal than the Blue Mountain Island Challenge Tournament. But, which region would have a lot of martial artists? The distance between regions was too far, and very few martial artists would go to other regions. On the other hand, the Blue Mountain Island was located in the center of the Star Regional Lake, which was almost the same distance from the other regions. It was like the center of the lake, and people from different regions were willing to come here. Not only could they observe the power and martial skills of the other regions, they could also explore the ancient ruins. It was like a dream island. Exploring the ancient ruins is not urgent. I should first figure out the distribution of the ancient ruins, as well as the specific location of some hidden ancient ruins. Moving blindly will only result in half the effort. However, this challenge tournament is indeed quite attractive. Up until now, I have not seen many martial artists from other regions. Although there are some in the Bewilderment Fog Island, they are not that powerful. Since the Blue Mountain Island can attract so many martial artists from other regions, it is naturally much better than the Bewilderment Fog Island. Stopping at the entrance of a restaurant, Yi Chen walked in. Taking a hot bath and eating a sumptuous meal, Yi Chen spent a total of 5 low-grade spirit stones. Perhaps in the secular world, 5 low-grade spirit stones were very expensive, but for martial artists, it was not worth mentioning. After giving the Sky Cloud School 8 million low-grade spirit stones and the Yi family 5 million, Yi Chen still had more than 2 million low-grade spirit stones. These 2 million low-grade spirit stones did not have much use, and could be used in daily life. As for the mid-grade spirit stones Yi Chen had, it was also a huge number, more than 1 million. If converted to low-grade spirit stones, it would be more than 50 million. Of course, no astral reaching expert would be stupid enough to exchange mid-grade spirit stones for low-grade spirit stones. There were 18 cities in the Blue Mountain Island, 3 of which were large cities, and 15 of which were medium cities. The city Yi Chen was in was called the Bluebird City. There was an antique street in the city, which didn't sell anything but antiques found in ancient ruins. The value of the antiques depended on the customer's taste. They might spend a lot of money and get a piece of trash, or they might spend a small amount of money and get a priceless treasure. The antique street was very long, and there was an endless stream of martial artists. On both sides of the street, apart from the simple and unadorned shops, there were even more stalls of different sizes. Behind each stall sat a martial artist. None of these martial artists had reached the astral reaching realm, and were all at the clasping yuan realm. Occasionally, there would be a few condensing reality martial artists. They were either bargaining with the customers, or closing their eyes to rest, waiting for the arrival of the customers. The atmosphere was quite lively. In the medium cities, martial artists below the astral reaching realm can set up stalls as they please. In the large cities, only martial artists above the astral reaching realm and above are allowed to set up stalls. However, this doesn't mean that there are no good items in the medium cities. On this antique street, there are quite a lot of astral reaching experts. I guess they are also looking for some treasures to take back. Faintly smiling, Yi Chen followed the crowd and entered the antique street. Strolling on the slightly crowded antique street, Yi Chen's soul power never stopped scanning. The antiques on the stalls could indeed be called antiques. Since the whole Blue Mountain Island was located in the Star Regional Lake, and the ancient ruins were also on the lake, these antiques had more or less been eroded by the lake water. Some of them were quite waterproof, and one could tell their shape and usage. Some of them were full of holes and rust, and one couldn't even tell what they were. Even so, the martial artists who came to the antique street were still in high spirits. Yi Chen even saw 2 clasping yuan martial artists quarreling over a piece of broken jade. Hey, there's actually a yuan light ball. Yi Chen's soul power was extremely sensitive. Any antique that had yuan qi vibration could not hide from him at all. With a slight scan, it was imprinted into his mind. Yi Chen had seen a yuan light ball twice in total. The first time was given to him by Yi Hai, and he had used it in the 100,000 mountain range. The second time was with Luo Hanshan. Back then, they were being chased by the Ghost Corpse Man, and Luo Hanshan had no choice but to use the Yuan Light Ball to block a powerful attack launched by a powerful martial artist, which saved him from death. Perhaps the Yuan Light Ball was completely useless to the current Yi Chen, but Yi Chen would never forget that it was the Yuan Light Ball that had saved his life. Otherwise, he would have been killed by the mother vines on the edge of the mountain. Crushing a Yuan Light Ball would be more than enough to block a full power attack from any clasping Yuan realm martial artist. The defensive light shield formed by the Yuan Light Ball was so powerful that even the mother vines could not break it with only one attack. If a clasping Yuan realm martial artist had this Yuan Light Ball, it would be equal to having an extra life. During a battle, if the Yuan light ball was crushed, the defensive power of the martial artist would be greatly improved, and he would be able to easily chase after his opponent. I want this Yuan light ball, 3,000 low-rank soul stones. I will pay 4,000. As Yi Chen had expected, once the crowd saw the Yuan light ball, they immediately started bidding for it. Shaking his head, Yi Chen kept walking. When he was about to reach the end of the street, Yi Chen abruptly stopped. "Excuse me, what is this?" Picking up a red-colored, yellow-tinged wooden rooster from the stall on the left, Yi Chen asked. He smiled and said, "This is a puppet chicken. 5,000 years ago, there was a rank 5 martial institution called the Puppet Martial School. All of their disciples knew how to make puppet mechanisms. This puppet chicken is one of the unranked ones. Don't underestimate it, it is unimaginably exquisite. Just put a low-rank soul stone, and it will be able to walk on its own, and eat the pests on the plants. Young warrior, if you have your own herb garden, it would definitely be worth it. How about 3,000 low-rank soul stones?" Puppet Martial School. I have heard of it. The wooden puppet in the Sky Cloud Martial School was indeed the work of the Puppet Martial School, which was a rank 5 martial school 5,000 years ago. It was not hard to imagine how powerful it was. There were many life and death realm warriors in the martial school. However, this puppet chicken in front of Yi Chen was obviously not made by a life and death realm warrior. It should be the work of an inner disciple. This puppet chicken was extremely lifelike, and had a hard exterior. Its eyeballs were 2 yellow gems, and there was a layer of black inside. As for its pest-killing function, it was indeed useful. One could naturally raise chickens in the herb garden, but one could not guarantee that they would not eat any herbs other than pests. I will buy it. Yi Chen did not really want it to kill pests. It was purely a personal preference, since the products of the Puppet Martial School were too rare. Right at this moment, a clear voice was heard, "I will pay 5,000 low-rank soul stones. Give me the puppet chicken." A fragrant breeze blew past, and a young lady walked to the front of the stall. She was about 23 or 24 years old, with a petite body and a pretty face. However, there was a hint of arrogance in between her brows, which told Yi Chen that she was definitely not a virtuous person. "Miss, this puppet chicken," the old man was a bit tempted. 5,000 low-rank soul stones was a huge amount for him. He wanted to sell this puppet chicken for a high price, but after a couple of days, a lot of people thought that the price was too high. After all, the puppet chicken did not have any use for cultivation, and it was only for collection. Almost all clasping Yuan realm warriors would not spend 3,000 low-rank soul stones on a puppet chicken. With so many low-rank soul stones, they might as well buy some pellets. Tempted was indeed tempted, but he was very wary of Yi Chen, because he could not see through Yi Chen's cultivation at all. Going back on one's word was a big taboo among warriors, and it was hard to guarantee that the opponent would not hold a grudge against you. All the big cities of the Blue Mountain Island did not allow reckless fights. Once outside the cities, it would be a lawless zone. Greed is not a good thing. Here are 20,000 low-rank soul stones. Take them, I will take the puppet chicken. Yi Chen ignored the young lady. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.